there were like 150 people
Wow.
scheduled. Well, there's 40 to 60 people listening in, but there are about 150 people scheduled to speak. You don't know who's coming up. 150 people. And nobody knew when I was going to be on.
Huh.
Have luck, you know. And they had some ladies and gentlemen from all over the world, some of them very new, and just
I watched.
some very important people, and that I wanted to, and so I couldn't tell when they were, coming up. Then they showed upcoming speakers tomorrow for people. They don't say what time.
Oh,
It should be on the schedule. They released the full schedule.
no, but it was
Somebody send me a schedule. If you have it, send it to me, because I got the schedule up to me, up to 5:30 last night, and then that's everybody behind me, before me, not who's coming up.
there was a disclaimer given in the original invitation you sent me at Acyutananda Prabhu saying that, due to various factors, they may not be able to keep exactly to schedule.
That's okay, but I didn't see any schedule at all.
I'm gonna put it in chat because I don't have any of your contact information.
Well, my email is, get a pen and paper ready for instant transmission of knowledge.
Excellent. I'm ready now.
Acyutananda, AC, no H.
Mm-hmm.
Acyutananda, Acyutananda, AC Bhakti, ACBSP. So there's two A's there, that shouldn't confuse you. At gmail.com.
There's no period, right?
No.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Ramachandra.
Hare Krishna.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Are you at work now?
You got it.
All right. Well, we've got four here at Acyutananda. Why don't we, everyone knows this is the time we begin.
What?
Everybody knows this is the time we begin.
Yeah. So many people come on late.
What to do?
Like last night, they asked me to speak about all of the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta who I ever met in the 60s and 70s. And so I did, and I squeezed it into half an hour.
Wow.
Spoke about Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, even some Ban Maharaj and Madhav Maharaj and Bhakti Vaibhav Vigyan Bharati Maharaj. Then today, all day, there were so many disciples of Bharati Maharaj, and they never got to hear me talk about their spiritual master. And Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, they never got to hear me talk about that.
I didn't know that Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj was Bhaktisiddhanta's direct disciple.
No, he wasn't, but he was disciple of Madhav Maharaj.
I see.
So we were, spiritual cousins. No, I spoke about all the important Vaishnavas also. Most of them were Bhaktisiddhanta disciples, but many of them were Bharati's disciples, and they never got to hear my part.
Well, I hope you'll send me the link one day so that I can hear it. Sorry, I missed it.
I don't know how to find my part. Do you have the Zoom code, the numbers?
I only have what you gave me.
Well, those are the Zoom numbers to get in and the password.
You mean it's still going on now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going on for tomorrow.
Oh.
Were you watching today's programs?
On and off.
Did you see? I'm sorry, Bhakti Sundar Sadhu Maharaj's today? It was incredible. It was about my Guru Maharaj. It was so nice.
So I see. How am I supposed to know? How did you know when he was going to be speaking?
Yeah, I had the program. I just emailed it to you. Hopefully, you'll receive
All right.
it.
Okay, why don't I switch over to Manasa Deha Geha because time's going by. let's see, where is it here? Okay, good.
Manasa deho geho jo kichu mora arpilo tuapade nanda kishora sampade vipade jivane morane daya mama gelo tua opade varane marabe rakove jo icha Joha Tohara Nityadasa Pratitua Adhikara Janma Ubia Moicha Jaditora Bhakati Grihe Jani Janma Ho Mora Gita Janma Ho Jata Tua Jata Tua Dasa Bahiramuka Brahma Janme Janme nahi asha, bhukti mukti spriha vihina je bhakta, labhaite thakur sangano rakta, janaka janani daita tanaya, prabhu guru patituh sarvamaya, bhakti vinoda kahe, suno kana. Radhanata tuha hamara parana. Translation: as mind, body, and family, whatever be mine, I have surrendered at your lotus feet, O youthful son of Nanda. I said that Bhaktivinoda Thakur told his sons, if you don't help me with the printing, they would go to the printers and get paper and ink. And he says, if you don't help me in my work, I won't feed you. Get out. They were his disciples. There's always a problem, a contradiction issue. Well, Bhaktisiddhanta wasn't really initiated by Gaura, didn't really take sannyasa. He grew up with Bhaktivinoda Thakur, please. He was hearing Harinam
Right.
and Harikatha and all of these songs since he was born.
Right.
Indeed.
Someone
In
else
good
can-
fortune or in bad, in life in good fortune or in bad, in life or at death, all my difficulties have disappeared by choosing no feet of yours as my only shelter. Krishna Chandra.
Slay me or protect me as you wish, for you are the master of your eternal servant.
Ramachandra, can you read, or it's not possible for you? I guess.
No, you guys
not.
read it. I'm just hearing. Yeah, I'm just hearing.
Okay. Sure. Okay. 4. If it is your will that I be born again, then may it be in the home of your devotee. Acyutananda?
Which one are we up to? There's only 3 of us. Which one are we up to? 4?
You're on 5.
5. May I be born again, even
You're on
as a
5.
worm, so long as I may remain your devotee. I have no desire to be born as Brahma, averse to you.
I yearn for the company of that devotee who is completely devoid of all desire for worldly enjoyment or liberation.
Seven.
Father, mother, lover, son, Lord, preceptor, and husband. You are everything to me.
Thakur Bhaktivinoda says, "Oh, Kana, please hear me. Oh, Lord of Radha, you are my life and soul." This is called a Vigyapti Kirtan. Vigyapti means you know. You know everything. I'm telling you. Gopinath is also called a Vigyapti Kirtan. And that thou knowest. You know what I mean. Mhm. We can start Gita, or you want to read these words?
No, I was just glancing over the word for word.
There's
Kita
5.
Janma means born as a worm.
Yeah.
Kita
Keet.
Janma.
Keet. Keet is Keet or Krimi.
Creamy, yeah.
There's Bahirmukh is over there. Brahma Janme, Bahirmukha Nahiyash. Anurakta. I
Yeah, I
yearn.
gotta go back and I wanted to go back and a verse to you. I mean, who I may be born even as a worm, so long as I may remain your devotee. I'm not already born as a Brahma. A verse to you. Well, I mean, Brahma tried to pull a fast one on Krishna by stealing the cows and coward boys, but that wasn't being a verse to Krishna, was it?
No, these are. I know worm cannot be a devotee, really, and maybe by accident. It means I'd rather be a devotee worm than be an atheist Brahma.
But Brahma's never an atheist.
No,
It's just figuratively speaking.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Whatever is your wish is that icha tohan. That means whatever you want. You know what to do with me.
Okay. So Siddhanta Prabhu said he couldn't make it tonight because he's meeting his daughter's boyfriend from Hawaii. So so he's busy tonight. And Nanda Patni said she also can't make it because she has 2 projects going on. So there'll be a few less than usual. I don't know if
Will they have Narahari marry them on the boat?
I don't know. I don't know what he'll do. Okay. Oh, that Narahari. Okay, right.
Yeah, our Narahari is Narihari.
Right, Narihari. Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Also on the other Zoom,
Yes.
there was a Tridandi Maharaj from Bhakti Vallabh, then there was another Maharaj. There were so many names. There's so many devotees with the same or similar names. I didn't know who they were. Oh, what is material nature? This is also explained in Gita as inferior prakriti, inferior nature. One time I said, Prabhupada said, you don't believe in God, then what do you believe? Nature. Whose nature? Oh, he had an answer right there. The living entity is explained as the superior prakriti. Prakriti is always under control, whether inferior or superior. Prakriti is female, and she is controlled by the Lord just as the activities of a wife are controlled by a husband, except on television. Prakriti is always subordinate, predominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. The living entities and material nature are both predominated, controlled by the Supreme Lord. According to the Gita, the living entities, although parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are considered prakriti. It is clearly mentioned in the 7th chapter, 5th verse of Bhagavad-gita, aparayam itis twamanyam. This prakriti is my lower nature. Prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. Again, I always like it that when Krishna calls Arjuna Mahabaho, he's talking about the jiva soul, and being prakriti, and still he refers to Arjuna and his strong arms, his body. He's always joking with it. And beyond this, there's another prakriti, jiva bhuta, the living entity.
I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm missing the point. How is Krishna joking with Arjuna by calling him Mahabaho, great armed?
Mahabaho means great armed. He's talking, that's his body.
Right.
He's teaching him about jiva tattva, the soul.
Oh.
Sometimes he'll say Kaunteya, oh son, you are eternal and never ending, never born, and never will, always will be existing. Kaunteya, son of Kunti.
In other words, that's just an illusory conception.
He's joking with it.
So, but this relationship of Kunti with Arjuna, it's not an eternal relationship, it's just a historical one. Isn't that part of Krishna's Bhoma Lila?
Yes.
Okay. So he's not exactly joking with Arjuna as being Kunti's son, is he? Or is he? I'm just trying to get it.
He's teaching him Jiva Tattva, that you're not this body. And then he's calling him by his bodily quality.
I see. Okay.
So just like you reminded me, Sabya Sachin. How does it go? Sabya Sachin?
Nimitti matram savyasachin.
Savyas, how do you pronounce
That's a good question. Is it Savyasachi or
yes, Sabya Sachi. I don't have teeth, so maybe next week you'll see me with teeth because somebody's buying me some false teeth.
Wow, that's great.
Sabya Sachin. And he said, you are great with the bow and arrow, and you can shoot from, that means you can shoot ambidextrously. And be my instrument, because you know how to handle instruments of war. So he's
Right.
giving these clever names to Arjuna. There are 10 names of Arjuna in the Gita.
Okay. Where are we here? Prakriti itself is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Above these modes, there is eternal time, and by a combination of these modes of nature, and under the control and purview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. For instance, suppose I am a businessman and have worked very hard with the intelligence and have amassed a great bank balance. Then I am an enjoyer, but then say I have lost all my money in business. Then I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the results of our work or we suffer the results. This is called karma. Krishna Chandra, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, Jiva, the living entity, Prakriti, nature, eternal time, and karma, activity, are all explained in the Bhagavad-gita. Out of these five, the Lord, the living entities, material nature, and time are eternal. The manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that the manifestation of material nature is false, but according to the philosophy of Bhagavad-gita, or according to the philosophy of the Vaishnavas, this is not so. The manifestation of the world is not accepted as false. It is accepted as real, but temporary. It is likened unto a cloud which moves across the sky, or the coming of the rainy season which nourishes grains. As soon as the rainy season is over, and as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops that were nourished by the rain dry up. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at a certain interval, stays for a while, and then disappears. Such are the workings of Prakriti. But this cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal. It is not false. The Lord refers to this as my Prakriti. This material nature is the separated energy of the Supreme Lord. And similarly, the living entities are also the energy of the Supreme Lord, but they are not separated. They are eternally related. So the Lord, the living entity, material nature, and time are all interrelated and are all eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from time immemorial, but we can change the results of our karma or our activity, and this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the actions and reactions of all these activities. But this is also explained in the Bhagavad-gita.
Yeah, this Christian Protestant Calvin and his philosophy is called TULIP. T means something, and U and L and IP. And he said we all have predestination. So if you're going to be saved, you're going to be saved. If you're going to hell, you're going to hell. And this is very disturbing to Christians all over. But what was I going to say also? Oh yeah, like a cloud that comes and goes. So the material nature is not always manifested. So I like to say, today's weather report in Vaikuntha, partly cloudy.
And that partly cloudy is the covering of the Prakriti?
There's the part that's covering is like a cloud.
Yeah.
Above the cloud, there's the sun always.
We have a new reader with us tonight. It's Padma Malini Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna, Padma Malini.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for joining us. Where are you from?
I'm in Washington, D.C.
Marshallton, D.C.
Washington.
Washington, D.C. Oh, wow. Okay. Last time I was there was 1992 with Gunagrai Maharaj on his Krishna Fest party for 6 months at Prabhupada's house.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So are you our god sister? Are you Srila Prabhupada's disciple?
Yes, I am.
Oh, wow. Jai, our obeisances to you.
My obeisances to you.
Jai. Would you like to read the next paragraph?
I don't
If I find it for you.
Okay.
Okay. What year did you come to ISKCON?
I met Prabhupada in New Vrindavan in 1972, and then I moved into the DC temple in 73. Initiated in 74.
Great. So you're part of that history of the DC temple. That was before Ganesham was there, right?
Yes.
But maybe, I don't know if Rupa, what's his name?
Well, Damodar.
Damodar.
Yeah, Damodar was temple president, and Rupanuga was, I guess he became GBC.
Right.
He was GBC.
And Gunya Rupini might have been there.
Yes, I knew her. She was there.
Nice. Okay. So does everyone know, is this the next paragraph, the position of Ishvara? I think we finished on, this is also explained in the Bhagavad-gita, right?
Yes.
Okay. So there you go, Pamela.
How much should I read?
We're reading a paragraph each, taking turns.
Okay, very good. The position of Ishvara is that of supreme consciousness. The jivas, or the living entities, being parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are also conscious. Both the living entity and material nature are explained as Prakriti, the energy of the Supreme Lord. But one of the two, the jiva, is conscious. The other Prakriti is not conscious. That is the difference. Therefore, the jiva Prakriti is called superior because the jiva has consciousness which is similar to the Lord's. The Lord's is supreme consciousness, however, and one should not claim that the jiva, the living entity, is also supremely conscious. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of his perfection, and the theory that he can be so is a misleading theory. Conscious he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious.
Prabhupada said, you think you have universal consciousness. This was a word going around, cosmic consciousness, but a tiny speck of dust in your eye and you can't see anything. You can't even see what's behind this wall. You can't even see what's going on behind this wall. What are you talking?
He would say you don't even know how many hairs are on your head or even how digestion is taking place.
All I know is they're getting less.
Okay.
I really didn't recognize Sid Hunter.
Yeah.
He really looked different.
It's your turn, Acyutananda.
Oh, the distinction between the Jiva and Ishvara will be explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad-gita. The Lord is Kshetragyan, conscious, and as is the living being. But the living being is conscious of his particular body, whereas the Lord is conscious of all bodies, because he lives in the heart of every living. Ishvara sarva bhutanang hridesha arjuna tishtati. Prabhupada loved to say that verse. I'm situated in everyone's heart. He is conscious of the psychic movements of the particular jivas. We should not forget this. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishvara, as the controller, and that he is giving directions for the living entity to act as he desires. Small h, to act as he desires. Okay, this goes to the 18, I think 63 or 64, chapters 1864. You have heard my teachings, you have heard what I've said, deliberate on them, and do as you wish. I think this is the only religion that says so. Like I said, there are no, God didn't give Moses the 10 suggestions. No, commandment. Well, that's not bhakti. Let's do this, or live by the law or die by the law. That's not bhakti. The living entity forgets what to do. First of all, he makes a determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in the acts and reactions of his own karma. After giving up one type of body, he enters another type of body, as we put on and take off old clothes. As the soul migrates, as the soul thus migrates, he suffers the actions and reactions of his past activities. These activities can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goodness, in sanity, and understands what sort of activities he should adopt. If he does so, then all the actions and reactions of his past activities can be changed. Consequently, karma is not eternal. Therefore, we stated that of the 5 items, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time, and karma, 4 are eternal, whereas karma is not eternal. The Sanskrit word is naimittic, it's occasional.
What is occasional?
What?
What is occasional?
Karma.
Okay.
It is not eternal. It is not nitya. Nitya dharma and naimittic dharma.
I find it interesting that Prabhupada said these activities can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goodness, in sanity. Yeah. So it's the first, I didn't often remember that Prabhupada's equating goodness with sanity. But
yes,
it's interesting. Yeah, it
yeah.
means stay balanced.
What comes to mind is in several times in Ishopanishad, Prabhupada explains dhira. One becomes sober. One becomes a sober person. And in the modes of goodness, you can perform activities that get rid of sinful reactions. That's the karma kandya version.
Right. The supreme conscious Ishvara is similar to the living entity in this way. Both the consciousness of the Lord and that of the living entity are transcendental. It is not that consciousness is generated by the association of matter. That is a mistaken idea. The theory that consciousness develops under certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in the Bhagavad-gita. Consciousness may be pervertedly reflected by the covering of material circumstances, just as light reflected through colored glass may appear to be a certain color, but the consciousness of the Lord is not materially affected. Lord Krishna says, Mayad yakshena prakriti. When he descends into the material universe, his consciousness is not materially affected. If he were so affected, he would be unfit to speak on transcendental matters, as he does in the Bhagavad-gita. One cannot say anything about the transcendental world without being free from materially contaminated consciousness. So the Lord is not materially contaminated. Our consciousness at the present moment, however, is materially contaminated. The Bhagavad-gita teaches that we have to purify this materially contaminated consciousness. In pure consciousness, our actions will be dovetailed to the will of Ishvara, and that will make us happy. It is not that we have to cease all activities. Rather, our activities are to be purified, and purified activities are called bhakti. Activities in bhakti appear to be like ordinary activities, but they are not contaminated. An ignorant person may see that a devotee is acting or working like an ordinary man, but such a person with a poor fund of knowledge does not know that the activities of the devotee or of the Lord are not contaminated by impure consciousness or matter. They are transcendental to the three modes of nature. We should know, however, that at this point, our consciousness is contaminated. Krishna Chandra?
How does the verse start? I'm cracking my head. How
Which
does the
one?
verse, huh? The verse of changing
Which one?
dress. The verse of changing
Oh,
dress.
Vasangsijunani.
Vasangsi.
Vasangsijun.
Vasa. Vasa means your dress. It also
Oh,
means
yeah.
your abode. That's
Uh-huh.
another thing that goes on in Nectar of Devotion. Vasa. Vasangsi yathavihaya.
Abhihaya. Navo, what is it?
Navo, new dress. We take on Navani Grihi.
Abhihaya.
I used to memorize it, but I don't use it much anymore.
Me too. Okay, whose turn is it?
My turn. Prabhu?
Yeah.
Shall I?
Please.
Thank you. When we are materially contaminated, we are called conditioned. False consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am a product of material nature. This is called false ego. One who is absorbed in the thought of bodily conceptions cannot understand his situation. Bhagavad-gita was spoken to liberate one from the bodily conception of life, and Arjuna put himself in this position in order to receive this information from the Lord. One must become free from the bodily conception of life. That is the preliminary activity for the transcendentalist. One who wants to become free, who wants to become liberated, must first of all learn that he is not this material body. Mukti, or liberation, means freedom from material consciousness. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, also the definition of liberation is given. Mukti means liberation from the contaminated consciousness of this material world and situation in pure consciousness. All the instructions of Bhagavad-gita are intended to awaken this pure consciousness. And therefore, we find at the last stage of the Gita's instructions that Krishna is asking Arjuna whether he is now in purified consciousness. Purified consciousness means acting in accordance with the instructions of the Lord. This is the whole sum and substance of purified consciousness. Consciousness is already there because we are part and parcel of the Lord. But for us, there is the affinity of being affected by the inferior modes. But the Lord, being the supreme, is never affected. That is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the conditioned souls.
Yeah, that's Akhanda Guru. It means the all-pervasive Guru, which ultimately starts with Krishna, and Balaram is Akhanda Guru. So we hear and get Diksha and Shiksha from our gurus, and Akhanda Guru is sometimes when we learn these things. When I was in a Goodwill store, and I was passing by the dressing room, and somebody inside was probably too fat to fit into something. So I heard from inside the dressing room, gee, I wish I didn't have this body. And I wanted to knock on and say, you have no idea. But I heard Prabhupada say, I hear Krishna talking. Ego, I wanted to say, here's a great funny thing about ego. No matter how abstract an artist paints a painting, he always signs his name pretty clear. Huh?
Wants to get recognition, credit.
Yeah. I made this.
Padma Malini, I'm just curious to know, I put out about 15 invitations on Facebook just before we started our session today. Where did you happen to see the invitation to tonight's discussion?
Prabhu, actually, I saw this. It was either last week or maybe the week before. I think it was last week. It could have been the week before. I'm sorry, I don't know. And
Okay.
yeah, I may have seen it on Facebook. Is that where you've been posting it?
Yep.
Yeah, so I probably saw it on Facebook, and yeah, I was really intrigued, and I thought it would be such a wonderful opportunity to hear from Acyutananda Prabhu, and I didn't know what to expect, and I'm sorry I can't really turn my camera on tonight. I'm not prepared properly,
It's okay.
but
That's okay.
yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
No, we're very happy to have you here. Did you know that 10 years back, I started searching for all of our God brothers and God sisters, and I created a Sangha for them called Srila Prabhupada's Disciples, my God brothers and God sisters? Did you know that?
Yeah, I did. I actually had a short exchange with you, and I did join that group, and I get a lot out of it. Maybe that's where I saw this.
Okay. Yeah.
What number am I?
What
3.
number? What?
What number am I? 3?
Number for what?
On the 880 to.
Oh, no, you're not on Facebook, so you don't. You're not counted there because you're not on Facebook.
Oh, okay. I don't mean anything.
That's a Facebook group. We'd love to have you there. We've been waiting for years.
Oh, I thought you had developed a list of devotees by number.
Yeah.
There is a list somewhere, Prabhupada disciples. Some of them might be young, very young, who got initiated in 77 in the last year of Prabhupada's material manifestation. So they may be younger.
Mahamaya.
If you're a Ritwik, you're all disciples of Prabhupada.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we have more. There's thousands of Prabhupada disciples now.
Yeah. Mahamaya is in charge of the list. But I have contact information with 900. She only has the names of who was initiated, when they were initiated. But she does, as far as I know, she's not in touch, because I offered to work with her and she thought I was trying to take her service or something. I said, no, I'm searching for the Prabhupada disciples that are alive now. I'm not just maintaining a list of, thousands.
Somebody saw a man in casual kami dress and a bead bag, and he was Karlapati. He never stopped chanting.
When was this?
Some years ago.
Okay. Was he from the very first initiation?
Yes, the first 12, and they all kind of disappeared. Hayagriva stayed on, and I think Ramananda Rai Rama, and maybe some other, but they all kind of left. That's why there's a letter from Prabhupada to me saying, I regard you as my first disciple. I'm not really his first disciple, but at that time of that letter, all of them had left.
So Rai Ram and Hayagriva, and Karlapati, they're from the first initiation. You're from the second.
This the actual second. But everybody in the second more or less stayed. It was Gargamuni, Brahmananda, me, and maybe Satsvarup was in the third or fourth.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe Jadharani.
You, Gargamuni.
Jadharani was the number 16, she told us. My question is, Mukunda the first too? One of the first, in that first initiation?
Well, he was initiated in the first, yes. He would be one of the 12.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm sorry, by the way, excuse me, but my obeisances to all of you, my humble obeisances.
Yeah, you forgot.
There's no loss. There's no loss if you forget me.
Okay. I will waive that. We will waive that. So I still don't remember who the fourth one was in my initiation.
Well, you said, wait a minute, Kirtanananda, Gargamuni, Brahmananda, and you.
Was it Kirtanananda?
Was the first.
Well, Mukunda
and Kirtananda.
I think Kirtananda might have been initiated first because in all the pictures, Brahmananda and I haven't shaved up yet. Kirtananda was shaved up in robes.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, in the movie.
I think
Kirtanananda was from one of the original 12 apostles.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome, Sikarani. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Pranams to you. We have a new god sister joining us tonight, Padma Malini Devi Dasi from Washington, D.C. Padma Malini, this is Shikarani. She has been the president of our Rochester Institute of Technology Bhakti Yoga Society. And so she invited me to Rochester, New York, was it at least 2 times or maybe 3 times to come and talk there and do kirtan there. So this is how I know.
3 times.
Yeah. And Shikarani is like our tech. She's our tech wizard. If we ever have a problem, we turn to her because she's a graduate in IT technology. Is that correct, Shikarani?
Yes.
What do you call that diploma?
It's Masters in Information Technology.
Okay.
He's the one that laughs at us when we can't find Alt 3.
It's fine, Prabhu. I think you guys are doing far better than even my father when it comes to digital media.
Oh, it took me a very long time. But when I started working in the bank, we still had the green letters. It was before Windows.
Today I was teaching my mom how to see the WhatsApp status because she can't. She wants to stalk my cousins.
I'm trying to get Acyutananda Prabhu on WhatsApp, but he's still a little ways away from it.
Mm-hmm.
When did you ever make this request? I've always wanted to have WhatsApp.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, then we should get
how do I install it?
Yeah, Shikarani will guide you. She's expert.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
So, so what we were saying, I wanted you to hear this. See, when you come in late, it breaks my heart every time somebody comes in late. Right after I say something from Prabhupada or something. Huh? You ever go to the movies and your friend comes late and they say, what happened?
Yeah.
So we're talking about that the prakriti, the material creation, comes and then it is dissolved like a cloud. So I always describe that today's weather forecast, Vaikuntha, partly cloudy.
Yeah.
So were you at work or do you have?
I got a call from my friend who was not keeping the call. And she's telling me, do you really need to attend the meeting? I'm like, yes, this is a spiritual process. I cannot just bunk it.
Is she a pure devotee chanting 17 rounds a day?
No, that's why.
Well, let her come in too. Let's see if she wants to.
You should have invited her. Yeah, you should have invited her.
What's the next?
She's from Bengal, but she lived in Jharkhand.
So আমি পুরো Bangladesh. আমি Bangladesh Zoom করছি. What day was that, Gora?
That was just
Monday.
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shonibar.
Monday, Somwar.
Somabar. করছি 1 ঘন্টা.
1 hour. Nice. Very good. ভালো ছে.
Bangladesh also.
Roy Ram Prabhu, is that you?
It's Mahesh.
Oh, it's Mahesh is back. Wow. Okay.
Hi. First time.
Yeah. So Mahesh, do you remember Acyutananda Prabhu?
Of course. Acyutananda Swami, of course.
Where did you meet him?
How could I ever forget?
Where did you meet him?
Well, I never really met him. I just seen him. You don't have to meet him.
Because he's a legend in his own time, right?
Definitely. As far as I'm concerned. I mean, I think that he's like the greatest, yeah.
Mahesh Prabhu is near Saranagati. He's in British Columbia.
I'm not really a member. I'm an outcast.
Then you fit right in.
What's that?
Then you fit right in if you're an outcast. You fit right in.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so happy you could join us finally, Mahesh Prabhu.
Thank you.
You know, actually, I'd like to share with you quickly before we move on. Mahesh Prabhu, tell the story when you went to distribute books at the George Harrison concert. What happened?
Oh, yeah.
What year was it?
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, it's like in Vancouver, it's like a funny place. It's like, Canadians are funny people. And anyway, no offense, Cor. But it's like George was there and Ravi Shankar was getting ready to, because he was all set up. They were getting ready to play and the audience was like not being very nice. And he did the first number, Ravi. And so then the crowd was going, we want George. And then, so George came right on the stage. He was really angry. He said, just shut up and sit down. He told him. He said,
Wow.
well, come on. He said, this is part of the show. And he was really angry. And when he left the stage, I was watching him because I was distributing books there. And he had something in his hand and he just threw it up against the cage that was around the, situation where they were. And like he just stormed off. And he was really angry. So then when he came back on, first song he sang was While My Guitar Gently Weeps, because these people were so bad in Vancouver, And anyway, so I had a book bag full of big books. So I picked the Srimad Bhagavatam up and I held it up to him while he was singing. And you could tell he was really angry. And he looked down and seen it. And he said, and he started to smile, like just totally like lifted his bad mood right off. And and the words he did, he goes, I look at you all, see the Gita needs learning. And he goes, while my guitar gently smiles, he goes.
Nice.
It's exactly the truth.
Nice.
And,
Sikarani, on Monday, because they were all Bengalis, I was able to remember a lot more of my language, Bengali. And there are things that you can say better in Hindi and Bengali than in English.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Jara prakriti sharir Krishna sange nache nache korte pare na. Now to say that in English would take 10 more words.
Yeah. And also the
We're
feeling.
talking about Sahajiyas.
What did you just say?
That you cannot dance with Krishna in a material body.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you used to speak?
The Sahajiyas think that they can in the material. That's why they're called Prakrita Sahajiyas. Taking it, Sahaj means easy. So without doing any sadhana, without chanting 17 rounds a day minimum, and not, they're chewing beetle, eating fish, and bleh. And then they think that, well, I'll dress up like Gopi and we'll make ras. So it brought great dishonor to the movement of Lord Chaitanya. That was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's and Bhaktisiddhanta's very strong mission to stop that idea. Even when one time we were invited in South India by a gentleman, we never saw him. So we come to the town, he's got a mansion, and it was a Playboy mansion. And he thought that we were Rajneesh types. And so he was very disappointed that we were all sadhus. He was, where are the ladies? Where are the dead? And also this stupid movie. Did you see Damaradam?
I heard about it.
Yeah. Oh.
Hare Krishna, Hare Ram.
So, okay, here's me and Bhagavat Maharaj went to Devanand, the director's house. We stood outside with a projector of our Hare Krishna movie. And we were out there, some servants came out there. I told him, I said, I'll kill you in 6 seconds. And finally he let us in. We showed him the whole movie. And he clapped.
Yeah, and I think that also spoiled the image of the Vaishnavas. Like, I don't know, there is a rumor or like a kind of judgment. People think like all these people, they are high on something. And I'm always telling them, no, it's not like that. They are high on Krishna. They're like, there is no way somebody can dance like that without being on weed or anything. I'm like, no, I can dance like that. And I have never done weed in my life. How can you tell like that?
Well, in reverse, there were a lot of hippies at that time also who just came for the ganja. But it happened in reverse also. I was sitting with Prabhupada, and there was an Indian Bengali gentleman that would come to talk to Prabhupada several times. And then one time, the question of Varnashram Dharma came up, and this man said, you see, Swamiji, in India we have Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And Prabhupada says, yes, I know that. And I go, why would he say? He probably thought Prabhupada was American. He must have. Why would he? But just like we may not be able to tell the difference between a German white man and an Italian
Mm-hmm.
But
or a Turkish or a Frenchman or somebody from New Jersey, you know. So similarly, a lot of Indians could not tell if they were. I almost got into Jagannath Puri because there is some South Indian caste that are very light. And one of the Pandits came to Madrasi Hate.
Yeah, Tamil Brahmins are very light.
Yeah.
People all the time think of me as Latino. I don't know why.
You could go on. There are Latinos here. I said, if you went to India, you wouldn't need a visa. You could blend in. Just don't talk. But there is an Italian devotee, Prabhupada disciple, I don't know his name. He learned Hindi so well, and he had black hair, and he was dark, and he learned Hindi so well that the police didn't even ask him.
That sounds like Rick Raj.
Richard got in.
Rick Raj.
For all of this, that's why this whole CRT, critical race theory, this is a lot of terrible Maya going on.
Eugenics. But yeah, Richard Raj, he was from New Jersey.
That might be him.
Florida.
Yeah, that's his,
He was a friend of mine.
Yes. So a friend of mine too. But he, this boy joined the movement after hearing him in radio in Calcutta. He did a whole section of kirtan, and his pronunciation was so good. So this boy would tell his mother, later on became a devotee, he said, I want to be like him. He's like, I want to be just like him. Then they all thought, as you know, Richard Raj was the Italian but dark complexion. And so I believe he entered the temple of Puri. He wasn't stopped.
He wasn't stopped.
And like that.
He used to rent an apartment in Delhi, and he was playing on the radio. And one day they said, and here is Riksharaj from the United States. And when he got home, the landlord said, you're American? He didn't know. He thought he was, Indian.
Sikarani, would you like to start the next paragraph, please?
Yeah. What is this consciousness? This consciousness is I am. Then what am I? In contaminated consciousness, I am means I am the Lord of all I survey. I am the enjoyer. The world revolves because every living being thinks that he is the Lord and creator of the material world. Material consciousness has two psychic divisions. One is that I am the creator, and the other is that I am the enjoyer. But actually, the Supreme Lord is both the creator and the enjoyer. And the living entity, being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, is neither the creator nor the enjoyer, but a cooperator. He is the created and the enjoyed. For instance, a part of a machine cooperates with the whole machine. A part of the body cooperates with the whole body. The hand, feet, eyes, legs, and so on are all parts of the body, but they are not actually the enjoyers. The stomach is the enjoyer. The legs move, the hands supply food, the teeth chew, and all parts of the body are engaged in satisfying the stomach, because the stomach is the principal factor that nourishes the body's organization. Therefore, everything is given to the stomach. One nourishes the tree by watering its root,
What's
and
up,
one
Bala?
nourishes the body by feeding the stomach. For if the body is kept to be in a healthy state, and then the parts of the body must cooperate to feed the stomach. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the enjoyer and the creator, and we, as subordinate living beings, are meant to cooperate to satisfy Him. This cooperation will actually help us, just as food taken by the stomach will help all other parts of the body. If the fingers of the hand think that they should take the food themselves instead of giving it to the stomach, then they will be frustrated. The central figure of creation and of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, and the living entities are cooperators. By cooperation, they enjoy. The relation is also like that of the master and the servant. If the master is fully satisfied, then the servant is satisfied. Similarly, the Supreme Lord should be satisfied. Although the tendency to become the creator and the tendency to enjoy the material world are there also in the living entities, because these tendencies are there in the Supreme Lord who has created the manifested cosmic world.
Now, how do you
Shiva is Shiva is in charge of ego. He's in charge of the tamagun. Ego is tamagun, even though it's the subtlest. But that's why many Shaivites want to become Shiva. Shivoham. It's called ahangropasaka. I worship a deity, but I want to become the deity. And so okay, here comes the story. Prabhupada and the elephants. We were at Kumbh Mela, and it was the day that the Shaivites got first dibs to bathe in the Ganges that day, first rites. And so there were 4 columns of these Naga Babas, and their mahants were up on 4 elephants, and with jata and trishul. All the Americans know what I'm talking about. They had tridents and dreadlocks, and the mahants, the sadhus were skinny because they did but the mahants had big fat bellies, and they had big tridents, and they had blazing red eyes from ganja, and they sat on these 4 elephants, and 4 columns came. Run by the military. They stopped us. We said, okay, and 4 columns of Shaivite Naga Babas passed by in about an hour. We waited. Later that night, we're in Prabhupada's tent, and Prabhupada said, "You could not get an elephant for me?" So then he laughed. He said, "That's all right." A few years ago here in Alachua, on Prabhupada's appearance day, some genius lady was able to cover the Vyasasan with an elephant made out of padded cloth and wood and sticks and cloth, and it looked like Prabhupada was sitting on an elephant. So I told that story, and she was very happy to hear that.
Nice.
And so today you got your elephant, bro.
You know, Hari, would you and Baba Trini like to continue?
Sure, Prabhu.
I can't.
Batrini has a terrible toothache.
Oh,
But
sorry. Is she using clove oil?
Yes. And I was, I think probably could be there's a pinched nerve, from the neck.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, she's, so I had my mic off. Poor thing. Most of the time she was in agonizing pain. So excuse us. I'll read on.
Rinsing with warm salt water and also doing oil pulling with sesame oil is also antiseptic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. We know this.
Okay.
Okay. We shall find, therefore, in this Bhagavad-gita, that the complete whole is comprised of the Supreme Controller, the controlled living entities, the cosmic manifestation, eternal time, and karma, or activities. And all of these are explained in this text. All of these taken completely from the complete whole, and the complete whole is called Supreme Absolute Truth. The complete whole and the complete absolute truth are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. All manifestations are due to his different energies. He is the complete whole.
That's a short paragraph. Why don't you read the next one?
Okay. It is also explained in the Gita that impersonal Brahman is also subordinate to the complete. Brahman is more explicitly explained in the Brahma Sutra to be like the rays of the sunshine. The impersonal Brahman is the shining rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonal Brahman is incomplete realization of the Absolute Whole, and so also is the conception of Paramatma in the 12th chapter. There it shall be seen that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottam, is above both impersonal Brahman and the partial realization of Paramatma. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Acyutananda Vigraha. The Brahma Samhita begins in this way. Ishwarva Parama Krishna Acyutananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the primal cause, and he is the very form of eternal being, knowledge, and bliss. Unquote. Impersonal Brahman realization is the realization of his Sat, being feature. Paramatma realization is the realization of the Chit, eternal knowledge feature. But realization of the personality of Godhead, Krishna, is realization of all transcendental features, Sat, Chit, and Ananda, being, knowledge, bliss, in complete Vigraha form.
Mahesh Prabhu, are you still with us?
People with lessons, this is the best anti-Mayavad verse you can give. I've converted, or I've at least stopped Mayavadis in there, because they think it's their favorite verse, because they put so many meanings into it. It's like I'm going to say it again for the new person. The man walks in the forest, he sees arrows in the trees, each one inside a yellow bullseye target. And he sees the guy with the arrow, the bow and arrow. He says, "You're a great shot." He says, "Well, I shoot arrows anyway, and the ones that hit the trees, I paint a target around the arrow." So 724, 7th chapter, 24th verse. Abhyaktam vyaktimapanam manyante mama buddhaya. Prabhupada's really mentioning that. Less intelligent. Abudaya. You have no intelligence. If you think that the Lord is impersonal and becomes a person, you're an idiot. You're a moron. Okay, that's what it means. And I've had Mayavadis say, "Oh, it's impersonal and it becomes a person." I said, "But then it says Abudaya, right? Now read it again, without painting your target around the arrow. Read it again." They go, "Yeah, yes." Some will not budge. Why? Abudaya. They have no intelligence. They're stubborn. One of the qualities of in the what is 16th or 3 modes? What chapter is that?
Chapter 13.
13. One of the qualities of Tamagun is to just hold on to one thing, unchangeable, fixed, immovable idea. You can't, they will not change. You can't teach them. You can't learn them nothing. They won't budge. That's sometimes called now cognitive dissonance. You tell something that they believed in wrong for so long, when they hear it right, it's a shock to them.
Yeah.
I say, and this is painful for me. Sometimes I'll say, "Well, Prabhupada said this." "Oh, no, he didn't." You weren't there. You know, I get this all the time. We didn't walk around with microphones and cameras, you know. Anyway, carry on. Anybody else have a comment and question or?
Yeah, I have a comment. I would like sometimes we only see you from your nose down. Can you lower your screen so we can get your full?
How do I just, because in the thumbnail I see my whole.
It just, yeah, no, that's getting much better. Yeah, it's way better. Perfect. Okay, it's my head. Okay, go ahead, Nurhari Prabhu.
Yeah, I had a meeting one time. Actually, this associate kept telling me about this person that he knew. That he said he's a scholar, Sanskrit scholar. He has written a Bhagavad-gita, and I went to myself, "Oh my God!" So he really wanted us to have a meeting. And so finally it happened that one time at his place of work, I came and his friend was there. And he insisted for me to have a copy, which I somehow I politely refused. Because I wasn't going to read it anyway. anyhow, and so this person was there, and as we talked, he introduced himself, and he so happened to be one of the Sanskrit editors for Bhakti Rakshaka Siddhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. I said, oh, to myself, I said, what happened to you? So we we engaged in a debate in a way. And but no matter what I brought up, and one of the things I brought up was Achinta Vidavida Tattva, inconceivably one and different at the same time, which I was telling my associates, well, you cannot say that God is just only impersonal. It has to be, it's incomplete. Or that he's just localized Paramatma. It's incomplete. So when I mentioned this to this person, he said, "Oh, you Vaishnava, you abused this Achinta Vedaveda Tattva." He just refused. He was like, no matter what, in so many ways, I defeated his arguments. I think it was an inspiration of Srila Prabhupada to remember some, very important verses. But I just wonder what happened. I mean, he seemed to be a very, it was close enough to be an editor for Sridhar Maharaj. And there he is, years and years later. So obviously, some offense was committed in his part. What do you think, Acyutananda, Prabhu?
I don't know, but it's a well-known story. Gaur Govinda Maharaj was talking to some pundits, and they said, "Oh, Bhaktivedanta, the translation is not correct." For instance, only Prabhupada would say this: Brahmabhuta, a person in Krishna consciousness.
Right. That's one of the things he brought up. He was saying, "Oh, your interpretations." I said, "No, this is direct. No. Your interpretation of the Bhagavad-gita, Prabhupada's interpretation."
So Gaur Govinda Maharaj brought it to one of his scholar friends who was in his 80s, and he left the Gita or Bhagavatam with him for a few weeks. And he was a leading Sanskrit professor. And after he came back and he said, "This is the original true way to translate. This is the really original meanings. Everything else," because they want to be famous authors. Like I said before, no matter how abstract an artist paints a painting, he always signs his name very clearly. So they want to, I got the Bhagavad-gita, let me make my version. And, there's so many versions. So, well, write your own. Prabhupada says, write your own book. Nobody would read it. Okay. What's your philosophy? Write your own philosophy instead of interpreting Gita. Leave Gita alone. Rascal dumb, Prabhupada's favorite word for them. Rascal dumb.
Okay, let's see. Mahesh Prabhu, you haven't read yet. Would you like to take a turn?
People.
Mahesh Prabhu, people with less intelligence. Can you see the screen?
I don't think he hears you.
He's mute. Yeah. He will have to unmute first.
Yeah. Can you please unmute yourself, or I can unmute you? Let's see. Ask to unmute. Okay, I'm doing that. It's
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Okay, great. Here's your paragraph, Prabhu.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay, here we
perfect.
go.
Yeah.
All that
People with
education's paying off. People with less intelligence consider the supreme truth to be impersonal. I can't see that. But he is a transcendental person. And this is confirmed in all Vedic literatures. Nityo Nityonam Chaitanas Chaitananam. As we are all individual living beings and have our individuality, supreme absolute truth is also, in the ultimate issue, a person, and realization of the personality of Godhead is realization of all of the transcendental features. The complete whole is not formless. If he is formless, or if he is less than any other thing, then he cannot be the complete whole. The complete whole must have everything within our experience. and beyond our experience. Otherwise, it cannot be complete. The complete whole personality of Godhead has immense potencies.
That's a short paragraph. Why don't you read the next one?
How Krishna is acting in different potencies is also explained in Bhagavad-gita. This phenomenal world, and material world in which we are placed, is also complete in itself, because 24 elements, of which this material nature is a temporary manifestation, according to Sankhya philosophy, are completely adjusted to produce complete resources which are necessary for the maintenance and substance of this universe. There is nothing extraneous, nor is there anything needed. This manifestation has its own time fixed by the energy of the Supreme Whole, and when its time is complete, these temporary manifestations will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete. There is complete facility for the small complete units, namely living entities, to realize the complete, and all sorts of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete. So Bhagavad Gita contains a complete knowledge of Vedic hymns.
We're back to you, back to the beginning, Acyutananda Prabhu.
All Vedic knowledge is infallible, and Hindus accept the Vedic knowledge to be complete and infallible. That's my name. For example, I don't know why I got that name. For example, cow dung is the stool of an animal, and according to Smriti or Vedic injunction, if one touches the stool of an animal, he has to take baths to purify himself. But in Vedic scriptures, cow dung is considered to be a purifying agent. One might consider this to be contradictory, but it is accepted because of this Vedic injunction. And indeed, by accepting this, one will not commit a mistake. Subsequently, it has been proven to modern science that cow dung contains all antiseptic properties. So Vedic knowledge is complete because it is above all doubts and mistakes. And Bhagavad-gita is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. The other example is a conch shell. It's the bone of a fish, but we can put it to our lips.
Right. Mm-hmm. Cow dung is so pure that it's utilized in various Ayurvedic preparations.
You know that in all,
if you have a cut, yes, go on.
You know,
sorry,
we were talking. No, that Chiranjeev Prabhu was mentioning that in all England they will burn the cow dung and use it, the ashes, for toothpaste to brush their teeth with. And Sridhar Maharaj, the Bhakti Swarup Sridhar Maharaj, he gave a lecture, and then he asked, he was talking about Vrindavan and Krishna, how he loves the cows, and his beauty is enhanced with the dust of their hooves, and there's descriptions of that. Then he turned to us and he said, what is the color, the most prominent color in Vrindavan? And it was green, I don't know, golden, yeah, right. No, it's brown. Everything is covered with cow dung. And if you think, I mean, they produce 50 pounds of dung every day, each of my cows.
Wow.
Yeah, now it's permeating all the corral where they are. We spread it and we keep not taking to other lots and like that. So thank God that it's antiseptic.
I remember one. Go ahead.
You see, when I first came to India, I saw it for the first time, rows of even patties of cow dung with a handprint in it, all lined up, a couple of hundred there drying in the sun. And I thought of Andy Warhol. He painted 150 Campbell's soup thing, and that was art. I said, this is art. There's a handprint in each one. And, that brings me to the Lakshmi. It's an important story. Has nothing to do with what we're talking about except Krishna. But Lakshmi Devi asked the gopis, how can I dance in the Ras Leela? I said, well, you will have to divorce Narayan. You have to get off the throne, get those jewels off you and the crown, and you have to take birth in Braja. You'll have to be born in a family and learn how to make cow patties. Then you have to marry a cowherd boy and be betrothed to him, and then cheat on him and run away and dance with us in the Russian. I can't do that. So, but this, oh, she's not. Oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do it. Oh, I can't do that.
Who was talking to her? One of the gopis?
One of the gopis.
Okay. Funny. I was going to say the first time I was in India, 1977, I was going there to get my second initiation from Srila Prabhupada. And when I first walked out the Mayapur gate, I saw all these brown polka dots on all the people's homes with, as you say, with the handprint. And I was looking at that thinking, gee, I guess people like brown polka dots here. I had no clue that it was cow dung. I thought it was just the style, People were into brown polka dots. Western dummy.
I thought it was some kind of insulation, cool. It'll cool the house. It probably does.
Oh, talking about that, yes, in Vrindavan they paint their walls with a mixture of cow dung, camphor, and cow's urine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, they do that. Even in my maternal grandparents' house, they used to do that because that is a cooling effect.
Right.
Wow.
And in winter, insulation too, because in winter when it's cold, it actually keeps you warm.
Yeah.
It's really fantastic. Vedic science, there's nothing like it.
Yeah. And it's really good for like that wooden fire, like the cooking thing where you put the cow dung. Yeah.
It makes a lot of, it's very, Bhaktisiddhanta's cook he would always tell him to cook with cow dung fire, but it makes a lot of smoke until it goes down.
Yeah, it does.
But that's it. Preach Basi breakfast. We were going to Jabat and we went through this little village with Bhavacharini, and then they called us, this family, and they had in the little patio, they had a stove made with clay, and they had a grill, and the fire was lit with cow dung.
Yeah.
Very expertly. And then we had chach. Chach is that, you probably know, it's a buttermilk, but it's not the buttermilk that we have in the West. It's very, very thin, and it has cilantro in it, and then and cumin, and then the chapatis were made with what we call kiave, but mostly it's cow dung, and so they will put ghee in the chapati and put a piece of gore, roll it, and give you a glass of chach and roti with the gore. Oh, I never had such breakfast. It became my favorite, especially being there in Vrindavan.
Yeah. I made a point. This is a mundane application of that. I would make appointments for high-tech executives in New York. We had a solution, and so I would call. So please connect me to the CIO, the Chief Information Officer. And they're the gatekeeper. Who's this? Well, we have to know if our solution is compatible with you. And then I would say a bunch of high-tech jingle. And do you know if that's possible? Yes. Well, we also have a connected I don't know. Oh, you better connect me to the CIO. Boom. I would get connected. So you bring them up to the point, well, I can't do that. So then I would get connected. I said, hi, I was just speaking to so-and-so, and they recommended that they referred me to you. And then I made the appointment. So I use that same principle. Keep asking harder and harder questions.
Krishna Chandra, you haven't read for a while.
Totally mundane.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Block that out. Erase that. Delete it. Who's that? Me?
Krishna Chandra. Oh no, did you read? I can't remember.
I read. I'm highly forgettable.
He read.
Okay,
I
Chandra,
went twice.
please.
Gada
Guy.
Prabhu, yours up. No,
Oh, it was my turn. I forgot. Anyway.
Okay, as you wish.
All right. Vedic knowledge is not a question of research. Our research work is imperfect because we are researching things with imperfect senses. We have to accept perfect knowledge, which comes down, as is stated in Bhagavad-gita, by the parampara, disciplic succession. We have to receive knowledge from the proper source in disciplic succession, beginning with the Supreme Spiritual Master, the Lord Himself, and handed down to a succession of spiritual masters. Arjuna, the student who took lessons from Lord Sri Krishna, accepts everything that he says without contradicting him. One is not allowed to accept one portion of Bhagavad-gita and not another. No, we must accept Bhagavad-gita without interpretation, without deletion, and without our own whimsical participation in the matter. The Gita should be taken as the most perfect presentation of Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is received from transcendental sources, and the first words were spoken by the Lord Himself. The words spoken by the Lord are different from words spoken by a person of the mundane world who is infected with 4 defects. A mundaner, 1, is sure to commit mistakes, 2, is invariably illusioned, 3, has a tendency to cheat others, and 4, is limited by imperfect senses. With these 4 imperfections, one cannot deliver perfect information of all pervading knowledge.
And these 4 defects are not present in Vaikuntha. Prabhupada gives the example of making a mistake of Gandhi. And many people told him, don't go to Delhi. There's danger there. But he went anyway, and he was assassinated.
Yeah.
By a Hindu. By a
Remember,
Hindu.
2 people are talking.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nahari Prabhu.
No, I'm sorry, I interrupted. Acyutananda, were you finished, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember, I think Prabhupada also mentions Kennedy, that he was warned not to go to Dallas, and he committed a mistake.
Yes.
You mentioned in Vaikuntha, Bhadrini had a question, an interesting one. In Vaikuntha, well, actually in Krishna Loka, is Krishna within the heart too? Do we have a form of Krishna in our heart? In our spiritual body, is there a heart?
No. Everything, everything, Narayan Maharaj explained, when you're there, Krishna there's Bhagavan. Just like when we see the sun reflected in many things. When you look up at the sun, who cares where the reflections are? Right. Prabhupada's example also. The residents of the sun, they don't care about the sun shine or the sun rays out there. They're busy with the sun business, which is a semi-heavenly planet. Similarly, everything, and this is also Mukunda Prabhu explained from Narayan Maharaj. I said, well, what is the ongoing nature of Yogamaya, Purnamasi? He said, everything, and Narayan Maharaj also said, the ongoing impetus here, like I was saying, Prabhupada, Brahmananda was telling Prabhupada, Sigmund Freud has this silly idea that everything is motivated by sex. And Prabhupada said, yes. In the material world, everything is motivated by sex. In the spiritual world, everything is motivated by prema. So there are no 3 modes there. There's only prema overall. That's what's the controlling thing. Even Krishna gives up his control, and he can be controlled by prema, by Radharani's love, by his devotees. Bhakatavatsala Sri Gaurahari. So he can be controlled then. So the Paramatma disappears. They all have Krishna in their heart, but they in Vaikuntha and up, there's no 8 elements or 24 elements. There's only one element. The soul, the body, and everything around is all Chintamani, Prakara, Satmasu, Kalpa, Prakshana. Everything is made out of one element, consciousness.
Right. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita I was listening to, It says the elements of water, air, all that is there.
Yeah.
Time is there, but they're all subservient. They don't function the same way that they do here.
Yeah.
Everything has consciousness.
Yeah.
And so that's what Bautrini asked me yesterday. Well, what do you think? Do the living entities acquire perfection and then now associating with Bhagavan, do they have Paramatma? And I said,
didn't say Paramatma.
Oh, what did you say?
I just said it's the Lord in their heart. But also we were just reading where Krishna enters Radharani's heart and Radharani enters Krishna's heart. So I wondered if the jiva had a comparable thing called the heart.
That's where heart means prema.
Yeah.
So everything is governed by prema bhakti, and here everything is governed by lust, kama.
Thank you.
Krishna Chandra, you want to
So,
continue?
so I gave an example, and Mukunda and others approved. It's like when there's a big man and it's his birthday, and they say, "What do you want for your birthday?" And he says, "You know what I like. Surprise me." He doesn't give orders. See, and they said that was good. So I did one good thing once. That was good. So everything is control of his devotees. They know what he likes. And even the wind, about everything living. There's really no Shanta Rasa in Goloka. Even the breeze will blow through the flowers, and the flowers will open up so that the breeze can carry you to Krishna. Just at the right moment.
Krishna Chandra, please continue.
Dhira Samira. Dhira Samira is the name of the wind. It's a person.
Right, Dhira Samira.
And that person, that devotee's body is made out of wind. What a place. That's our home.
I know.
That's our home.
Prabhu,
Yeah.
One paragraph or two, Gaur Prabhu?
That's a pretty good sized paragraph.
Okay, very good. Vedic knowledge is not imparted by such defective living entities. It was imparted onto the heart of Brahma, the first created living being. And Brahma, in his turn, disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples as he originally received it from the Lord. The Lord is Purnam, all perfect, and there is no possibility of his becoming subject to the laws of material nature. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that the Lord is the only proprietor of everything in the universe, and that he is the original creator, the creator of Brahma. In the 11th chapter, the Lord is addressed as Prapitamaha, because Brahma is addressed as Pitamaha, the grandfather, and he is the creator of the grandfather. So no one should claim to be the proprietor of anything. One should accept only things which are set aside for him by the Lord as his quota for his maintenance.
Okay, I don't know who else is here. There's Galaxy A21S has arrived. I have no idea who that is. But anyway, Mahesh Prabhu, maybe we'd like to read in the meantime. There are many examples given.
He sounds so nowadays, Galaxy. Which galaxy is he coming from? Or she?
I have no idea. But Mahesh,
No, we know it could be a she. It could be a zer or a them. Or a zim.
A day.
Or a they. So who's reading?
Mahesh is reading.
Am I?
I hope so.
Not reading.
Okay, there are many examples given of how we are to utilize those things which are set aside for us by the Lord. This is also explained in Bhagavad-gita in the beginning. Arjuna decided that he should not fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. This was his own decision. Arjuna told the Lord that it was not possible for him to enjoy the kingdom after killing his own kinsman. This decision was based on the body because he was thinking that the body was himself. and that his bodily relations or expansions were his brothers, nephews, brother-in-law, grandfather, and so on. He was thinking in this way to satisfy his bodily demands. Bhagavad-gita was spoken by the Lord just to change this view. And at the end, Arjuna decided to fight under the direction of the Lord when he says, Karishye vachanam tava. I shall act according to thy word.
Okay, I'm just wondering about asking Galaxy A21 to read. Bhakti Galaxy is there, or Bhakti in Galaxy? Who is that, please? Hello? Can you hear? Okay, Sikarani, in the meantime, that person's not answering. In this world, man is not...
Yeah, sure, no problem. In this world, man is not meant to toil like dogs. He must be intelligent to realize the importance of human life and refuse to act like an ordinary animal. A human being should realize the aim of his life, and this direction is given in all Vedic literatures, and sense is given in Bhagavad-gita. Vedic literature is meant for human beings, not for animals. Animals can kill other living animals, and there is no question of sin on their part. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste, he must be responsible for breaking the laws of nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly explained that there are three kinds of activities according to the different modes of nature: the activities of goodness, of passion, and of ignorance. Similarly, there are three kinds of tables also: the tables in goodness, passion, and ignorance. All of this is clearly described, and if we properly utilize the instruction of Bhagavad Gita, then our whole life will become purified, and ultimately we will be able to reach the destination which is beyond
this material sky. Your voice broke up. Acyutananda Prabhu, that destination.
That destination is called the Sanatana sky, the eternal spiritual sky. In this material world, we find that everything is temporary. It comes into being, stays for some time, produces some byproducts, dwindles, then vanishes. That is the law of the material world, whether we use, as an example, this body or a piece of fruit or anything. But beyond this temporary world, there is another world of which we have information. This world consists of, this is so amazing because if you read impersonal Mayavad Buddhism, you're supposed to meditate and then you realize everything. Now, Prabhupada just can tell it to you. If you're a devotee who accepts and has faith in the words of the Shastras, you can just read about it. It's information. It's not deep wisdom. It can just be told to you matter-of-factly. Prabhupada told that to me. My first question was, how can God be all-pervading and still why should we worship a person in a faraway world? This is the two problems. Did you see George Carlin? He says, they believe that God is an invisible man in the sky and he's got 10 rules. That's what one version. Then the Mayavad Buddhist version, God is all over and he's not there. So both of them, God is so far away, can't worship him. God is spread all over, why worship him? So then it can be told, he is both. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can expand everywhere and he's personally with you in your heart and in every atom simultaneously. And he just told it to me. I thought I had to meditate in a cave for years, and then see the light, But and then in my book, I said, as I was leaving, Prabhupada says, I appreciate this question. I said, my God, he just answered the whole world's theological problem. And then he thanks me for asking. Tells it to me like a matter of fact. And then probably many times he'll say it's lack of knowledge, lack of just information. They have no information. They have no information. Information is a weak word. It's not wisdom or vigyan. It's just plain reading it. Just read it as it is, and it will come.
Acyutananda Prabhu, that goes to show that your among the devotees, you are the first class devotee, the one that listens to he hears Vedic wisdom from Guru and accepts it, and it's there, like you said. I mean, it's
then how come I can't cure toothaches?
well, you're not your body.
Yeah, until it hurts.
But you remember, I mean, there's the other kind that reads and he has to test and at all times. Well, we had to knock her out and then we pulled out that tooth.
Opium. Yeah, clove oil. I bought some clove oil just to have in the house, and I put a tiny bit. This is concentrated pure. Oh, you have to dilute it with some oil.
Yeah.
Sesame oil.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I got some of that somewhere. Oh boy.
Also, we have. She's done that, and also we have a Polynesian root. It's called kava.
Yeah.
It's a great. It has numbing effect, but painkiller. And it works. It has no side effects.
Okay, information. This world consists of another nature, which is Sanatan, eternal. Jiva is also described as Sanatan, eternal, and the Lord is also described as Sanatan in the 11th chapter. We have an intimate relationship with the Lord, and because we are all qualitatively one, the Sanatan Dham, or sky, the Sanatan Supreme Personality, and the Sanatan living entities, the whole purpose of Bhagavad-gita is to revive our Sanatan occupation, or Sanatan Dharma, which is the eternal occupation of the living entity. We are temporarily engaged in different activities, but all of these activities can be purified when we give up all these temporary activities and take up the activities which are prescribed by the Supreme Lord. That is called our pure life.
The Supreme Lord, his transcendental abode are both Sanatan, as are the living entities, and the combined association of the Supreme Lord and the living entities in the Sanatan abode is the perfection of human life. The Lord is very kind to the living entities because they are his sons. Lord Krishna declares in Bhagavad-gita, Sarva Yonishu, Aham Bija Pradapita, I am the father of all. Of course, there are all types of living entities according to their various karmas, but here the Lord claims that he is the father of all of them. Therefore, the Lord descends to reclaim all of these fallen conditioned souls, to call them back to the Sanatan eternal skies, so that the Sanatan living entities may regain their eternal Sanatan positions in eternal association with the Lord. The Lord comes himself in different incarnations, or he sends his confidential servants as sons or his associates or acharyas to reclaim the conditioned souls. Why don't you do a couple, Krishna Chandra, that this next one's short.
Therefore, Sanatan Dharma does not refer to any sectarian process of religion. It is the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relationship with the eternal spiritual Lord, Supreme Lord. Sanatan Dharma refers, as stated previously, to the eternal occupation of the living entity. Ramanujacharya has explained the word Sanatan as that which has neither beginning nor end. So when we speak of Sanatan Dharma, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sri Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end. The English...
Okay.
I apologize. You go ahead, Prabhu.
There are three terms for eternity, and they have three specific meaning. Anadi, no beginning. That's kind of hard to understand. Nitya, continuous, and Ananta, no end. So three terms to describe this. And again, about information, Prabhu says that they have no information of the spiritual. They have no information. You can just read it in books if you have Shraddha, faith, Diksha, and sadhana. You practice. We don't teach this in a college from a professor and take notes and go home and be sinful. Or you go to a lecture for and pay a fee and listen to a guy and then make an argument. Or this one has 20 minutes for his opening statement and you have 20 minutes to rebut his statement. And that's not how this is imparted. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya. Upadakshantita jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. You have to become a disciple, do some service, ask submissive questions. And then the information can be imparted to you. And it's as easy as just telling it to someone. Doesn't require tapasya and meditation on your navel. Okay.
Shall I go on?
Please.
Yeah.
Okay. The English word religion is a little different from Sanatana Dharma. Religion conveys the idea of faith, and faith may change. One may have faith in a particular process, and he may change this faith and adopt another. But Sanatana Dharma refers to that activity which cannot be changed. For instance, liquidity cannot be taken from water, nor can heat be taken from fire. Similarly, the eternal function of the eternal living entity cannot be taken from the living entity. Sanatana Dharma is internally integral with the living entity. When we speak of Sanatana Dharma, therefore, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sri Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end. That which has neither end nor beginning must not be sectarian, for it cannot be limited by any boundaries. Yet those belonging to some sectarian faith will wrongly consider that Sanatana Dharma is also sectarian. But if we go deeply into the matter and consider it in the light of modern science, it is possible for us to see that Sanatana Dharma is the business of all the people in the world, nay, of all the living entities of the universe.
Sikarani.
Yeah. Non-Sanatana religious faith may have some beginning in the annals of human history, but there is no beginning to the history of Sanatana Dharma because it remains eternally with the living entities. Insofar as the living entities are concerned, the authoritative Shastras state that the living entity has neither. In the Gita, it is stated that the living entity is the destruction of his temporary material body. The living entity is never born and he never dies. He is eternal and indestructible, and he continues to live after the destruction of his eternal body, a temporary material body. In reference to the concept of Sanatana Dharma, we must understand the concept of religion from the Sanskrit root meaning of the word. Dharma refers to that which is constantly existing with the particular object. We conclude that there is heat and light along with fire. Without heat and light, there is no meaning to the word fire. Similarly, we must discover the essential part of the living being, that part which is his constant companion. That constant companion is his internal quality, and that eternal quality is his eternal relation.
Narhari Prabhu.
Okay, sorry, my mic was off. Okay, let's see. There we go. Sanatana Goswami asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the swarup of every living being. The Lord replied that the swarup, or constitutional position of the living being, is a rendering of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I have a little story here. When we arrived from India in 1976 for the great festival of Rath Yatra, it was and one of the lectures Prabhupada gave, we were at the temple, and Prabhupada said, today is Sanatana Goswami's disappearance day. And I think Pradyumna said, Prabhupada, no, it's appearance day. Prabhupada said, appearance and disappearance are the same. He said, the pure devotee of the Lord always does where he sends them. It will be the same. He's always serving the Lord 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Even the disappearance can be more important. I asked Sridhar Maharaj also, how come Krishna Lila is not too much explained in the Vedas? And it's usually after the appearance. Then the person has shown their whole life. That's when you can glorify everything, all their accomplishments. So the disappearance day can be more. We shouldn't be sad.
Right. No, it's cause our celebration. We remember in the great acts of this great devotees. So today is such a day.
We're still reading. Yeah, this is the we're still reading the introduction. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think in the next part it'll say Dharma as meaning not religion, but the natural function of anything. Fire is hot, water is liquid, and everything wants to go back to its source. Water naturally goes down. Fire wants to go back to the sun. It goes up. Everything has this natural quality. So the natural quality of the soul is Jiver Surupoi Krishna Nityadas.
Nityadas. Yes. And that cannot be changed.
No, but it can be perverted and you become, like Prabhupada said, servant of dog. Oh, how they love their dogs in America. In India, they're saying, oh, yes, I told them how you open doors for women and you give names to dogs.
I'm not getting that. Sorry. You open doors for women and you give names.
No, this Indian gentleman was saying, I was telling people about your Western culture. You open doors for women and you give dogs names.
What? I understand. I mean, isn't that applicable in Vedic culture to open a door for a woman? No. Okay.
Only if you are Sahib.
If you are what?
Sahib.
Sahib. Western.
Or terrible word. Shikarani, close your ears. You know what terrible word? This is a very bad word. Wog. The wogs.
She's not
Practically
here.
everybody outside in England, even across the channel, they call wogs. Westernized Oriental gentlemen.
Oh.
So see how or another version from Stalin, useful idiots.
Oh.
And that's how England took over. They gave big promotions to some educated. They made them clerks. They started the zamindari system to take power away from the Maharajas and from the people.
Right.
So they were useful idiots. So I got rich, though. I knew a Maharaja, Bengali Maharaja of the Dev family, D-E-V, Dev. And I said, I met with their son. And Prabhupada told me the story. In British times, this little boy of the Dev family was the servant of the viceroy. And one day when the viceroy was out, he sat on the viceroy's throne. And that's when the capital was in Calcutta. And he fell asleep. And the viceroy came into the room and he sees this boy sleeping on his throne. He says, so you have some ambition. And he wakes him up. He says, no, you have some ambition, I see. And he made him a Maharaja and gave him land up and down the Ganges in Bengal. They became on. They're not, long-time Maharajas. They were created. So the British would let out powers sometimes. So they were.
How many you say there were? What is it? 300 million were controlled by how many British?
100,000 British occupied in but they recruited Sikh and Jats caste into the army. However, Subhash Chandra Bose started to go to the any of the Indian forces that were captured by Hitler and said, why fight for England? Fight for the freedom of India. And he created the Indian National Freedom Army, and that's what made the British stop. Oh, our own soldiers are turning. And Prabhupada maintained that that's why the British pulled out of India, not Gandhi.
Right. He mentioned that a few
That's
times.
true. That's true. Yeah.
Gandhi was a useful idiot. They arrested Gandhi
Nobody knows.
during the Second World War. Gandhi was put under house arrest in a palace, but it was outside the window of his room was a stack of sandalwood for his cremation. They said, "You going to cooperate, or you're going on that fire?" I will.
Yeah.
See. Oh boy, are we on YouTube? Well, I'm going to get killed. But
Yeah,
our
until today,
RSS will agree with me, and so will
nobody knows.
and so will Modi.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Right.
till today, like nobody knows like why Subhash Chandra and how he was killed. Like it seems like that the whole plane crash was planned. Nobody knows the real reason. If he's alive, his body was never found, and like so much forgery happened.
Yes, we heard this. Our son Vrindavan Das, whose name is was given by Prabhupada. He was 10 years old in Vrindavan when he took initiation, and he went on to delve into. He has 2 books now. One of them is a textbook in Canada, in colleges in Canada, and one in US. And he told us we used to discuss. One thing that fascinated me from the beginning was history, since I was a child and I wanted to go to India for some reason. And so when I joined was because of Prabhupada's introduction to Srimad Bhagavatam. In just few paragraphs, he puts all the history of the world, straightens it up. And then I realized how much of the West and the British had cut off, the most important part, which is the Vedic culture that unified the planet. So Vrindavan was telling me about Subhash Chandra Bose, and we won the Hawaii Music Awards on the song that we did in 98. Actually, it was 96 for the 100th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's appearance. And Vrindavan made a little video and made the video in honor of Srila Prabhupada. Also, he introduced footage of Subhash Chandra Bose. And he was telling us too the story of that it's not clear, there was never body found.
Yeah.
He might have ended up being a prisoner of the British. Yeah.
The story that Nehru wanted to assassinate him, and but then that movie Gandhi came out, and everybody fell in love with Gandhi. That movie was made by the British.
Right.
and if you literally go, and it's available even on internet everywhere, the last speech.
Oh,
you went.
The audio went.
We don't hear you.
Hello.
You were just about to say something great.
I know the Congress Party intercepted.
Oh no. Both again.
Are we going to give Nichalila a chance to read tonight? You have to finish your part, Nirhari Prabhu, otherwise Nichalila won't get a chance to read.
Yeah, it's just it went off the screen when we start chatting. I mean, I don't know. I think it's
Put it back on the screen.
okay, there it is.
I'm controlling.
Okay. So a reply, rendering the service to the Supreme Personality of God. If we analyze this statement of Lord Chaitanya, we can easily see that every living being is constantly engaged in rendering service to another living being. A living being serves other living beings in 2 capacities. By service to another, by doing so, the living entity enjoys life. The lower animals serve human beings as servants, serve their master. A serves B, master, B serves C, master, and C serves D, master, and so on. Under these circumstances, you can see that one friend serves another friend. The mother serves the son. The wife serves the husband serves the wife, and so on. If we go on searching in this spirit, it will be seen that there is no exception in the society of living beings to the activity of service. The politician presents his manifesto for the public to convince them of his capacity for service. The voters therefore give the politicians their valuable votes, thinking that he will render valuable service to society. The shopkeeper serves the customer, and the artisan serves the capitalist. The capitalist serves the family, and the family serves the state in the terms of eternal capacity of the eternal living being. In this way, we can see that no living being is exempt from rendering service to the living beings, and therefore we can safely conclude that service is the constant companion of the living being, and that the rendering of service is the eternal religion of the living being.
Question, here Prabhupada is saying, the shopkeeper serves the customer and the artisan serves the capitalist, and the capitalist serves the family. So I'm just wondering, is Prabhupada equating the Vaishya here with a capitalist? Am I
Yes.
understanding? Yeah?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. He uses capitalist also in other places, but that also brings up another British idea. Me and Jai Pataka, we had to get some kind of license in Calcutta. And so we go into one office and they didn't give it. Said, well, who's your superior? That's Mr. Banerjee. Who's his superior? Mr. Mukherjee. Who is the top superior? Oh, that's Mr. Wilson. British. That's Mr. McGregor. British. They were still there. Control. Now I wonder if Bob Dylan heard this part and he wrote a song, You Gotta Serve Somebody.
Yeah.
Right. I believe so.
I think
wrote that
definitely.
when he was associating with devotees.
He wrote that about Trini, I think. Well, actually, Arundhati Dasi, she was friends with him, and he used to come to Los Angeles and stay with them. And yes, he, after associating, Bhatrini was saying that after associating with devotees, he wrote this song. You got to serve somebody.
Did
Serve
Harrison
somebody.
write that when he wrote The Art of Dying? Who sang The Art of Dying?
George
The Art of
Harrison.
Dying, George Harrison.
Okay, Bob Dylan wrote that after associating with devotees, and I think George Harrison wrote You Have to See.
Are you sure?
I'm not positive, but Sheila was writing songs with Bob Dylan, and she was a devotee. She stayed with me in New York.
We don't hear.
Oh,
I know.
I'm not,
I know
I'm
the
not
history.
sure, but I think actually that George Harrison wrote You Gotta Serve Somebody, and Bob Dylan wrote The Art of Dying, and they were both involved with devotees at the time, and they sang each other's song, but I might have the wrong songs, but Arundhati associated with them. And then there was this girl, Sheila, that met him. He was like driving somewhere and he put an ad, he needed some people to share gas. And it ends up it's Bob Dylan. He was already famous. And so that they took him to the temple and he became a devotee for a while. He didn't live in the temple. And he and Sheila wrote a song about, giving out BTGs and, and then he sang a song George Harrison wrote, and George Harrison sang a song he wrote. And I think it was those two songs.
The history is that Peter Rosen on Facebook, who's known as, I'm not saying anything you said wasn't accurate, Bhavatrini. I'm just going to fill in a couple of details that I heard. So, when I was looking for all of our God brothers and God sisters, I would interview each one briefly just to hear their story. And so one godbrother named
Stephen Rosen.
Yes, Peter Rosen, not Stephen. Stephen Rosen is such a Peter Rosen.
Right.
Pavamana Dev, I think that's his name. Pavamana Dev. And he said that he was speaking to, who's that guy? Have a Marijuana. What was the guy's name? David Peel, was it? I can't remember. He was a yippie singing, and he was friends with John Lennon. Anyway, he met him, and he said, do you know any famous people? And he said, yeah, I know them all. And he said, you know Bob Dylan? And he said, yeah, I know him. He said, can I have his phone number? And he said, what for? And he said, I need to talk to him about something. So he called up Bob Dylan, and his girlfriend answered. And he said, I'd like to meet you. I have some questions for you. So they met on the street, and they made friends. And Pavamana Dev, I'm not sure if it was Bob that was leaving for LA or whether Pavamana Dev was going. But anyway, they decided to mutually go with Bob's girlfriend, or no, Pavamana Dev's girlfriend, I think. Sheila? Is that?
Yeah, that was Sheila.
That was Sheila, yes.
And they drove across, and they stopped in Duluth to see Bob's family. They stopped in at the Chicago Temple, and that's where Peter Rose and Pavamana Dev got Bob to chant one round of japa. And after he did one round, Bob said, so, like, what's next? Like, what's after that? What do you do after that? Anyway, they kept driving to California, and they showed up at Arundhati's door, and Arundhati was like totally blown away because she was a big Bob Dylan fan, and there's Bob Dylan showing up at her door. And she said that Bob sang a song called Come to Krishna. That was the title of it.
Wow.
That's the one. Now she remembers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now it's coming back.
Right.
But I didn't hear it was about distributing BTGs. That's the first I've heard of this.
I love to
No,
hear
it
that
wasn't
one.
about distributing BTGs, but one of the lines, and maybe it was in a song that
Come a
he
little
wrote.
closer.
Maybe it was in a song he wrote with Sheila, and it was a separate song. But there's one song where they approach someone who's a bum or something. He was suffering, and so they gave BTG. That was in the
Oh,
song.
that's a God to holy name,
No, that's
brother.
I was imitating that.
Oh,
Oh, maybe they gave him, no, I said I gave him the holy name. Yeah, I was imitating it. So Sheila stayed with me at the New York Temple for a few weeks once, and she played the song for me, but I mean, I can't give you accurate information about it because I really don't remember.
Okay, fine.
And it wasn't recorded.
We should get Bob to record that one before he goes. Come to Krishna.
Yeah.
yeah. That would be wonderful.
He went into a Jesus thing for a while. And
Yeah.
the critic said, how come George Harrison can chant Hare Krishna and get fans? But when Bob Dylan chants Jesus, everybody walks out.
Who said that?
Didn't like it. Some music critic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Nitya Leela reading.
Yes, Nitya Leela's turn, I think. You finished the paragraph, right, Nirhari Prabhu?
Yes, I did, Prabhu.
Okay, yet man. Why don't you read two, Nitya Leela? This is short.
Yet men profess to belong to a particular type of faith with reference to particular time and circumstance, and thus claims to be a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or any other sect. Such designations are non-Sanatana Dharma. A Hindu may change his faith to become a Muslim, or a Muslim may change his faith to become a Hindu, or a Christian may change his faith, and so on. But in all circumstances, the change of religious faith does not affect the eternal occupation of rendering service to others. The Hindu, Muslim, or Christian in all circumstances is servant of someone. Thus, to profess a particular type and type of sect is not to profess one Sanatana Dharma. The rendering of service is Sanatana Dharma.
Before you go further, Nityalila, would you just like to make a little comment on this paragraph? Because you're surrounded by 20 million Muslims, and but yet you're making very nice inroads into the Islamic community and somehow or other keeping them favorable to Vaishnavism. Would you like to say something about this paragraph before you read the next paragraph?
I feel the difference of philosophy or ideology, like we totally, believe that Jivera Sarupa Nitya Krishnera Nitya Das. So this is our core ideology. But when we compare it to other religion, like a Muslim living here in majority, so I don't feel such sort of notion in their life. They have like certain obligation to fulfill, like 5 times prayers or fasting entire month, but that is for certain time period or limited way. That is not like for 24 hours they have to think that they are servant of Lord, So that's the biggest difference.
I see. 5 times a day instead of 24 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And
you know, 200 or 300 years ago, they were all forcibly converted. They were all Hindus, and their ancestors were all Hindus.
Right.
Yeah.
Where's Nityalila? Because Vrindavan's going to Pakistan.
Vrindavan is going to, our son is going to Pakistan. He married a girl from Pakistan.
He'll be there.
And he'll be there. Yes, he'll be there. Where are you, Mataji?
Nice.
She's in Karachi.
Karachi, yeah.
In Karachi, okay. Do you remember about Trini where she's going? We'll find out.
I can't attend. I'm sorry. I'm not coming to the wedding.
Oh no!
You're the best man. You're the best man.
No, I'm sorry.
No, he's already married to
deeply
her.
Deeply regret that I cannot attend.
Oh.
Oh.
They're
already married.
Okay.
2 years ago, they're married.
That would be great if they could meet. If they could meet Nityalila, that'd be great.
Yes, yes, that's what I thought. That she can meet this. The girl can meet Nityalila. It would be wonderful.
Yeah. What's his name is, your son?
Vrindavan. Vrindavan Das. He's a Prabhupada disciple.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. And I will find out, Didi, I will find out exactly where he's going. And I believe that somebody who's married to a devotee too in her family.
I know a friend who's married to a devotee.
I see. I think another family is married to a devotee.
Yeah, I wanted to say about capitalists in the Madhya Lila and the Madhavendra Puri, when he discovers Gopal in Govardhan, many provinces, they started donating for about a month. Every day there was Govardhan Puja with mountains of prasadam. And Prabhupada says, and one capitalist donated a cartloads of grains and stones for a temple. A capitalist.
Huh.
Right.
Like,
so he used it interchangeably, capitalist Vaishya.
Yeah.
There is a devotee now wrote the Mahabharata. He lives in New Vrindavan. He's a god brother. And he mentioned that there is a passage where Narada Muni approaches Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he gives him instruction of how to rule. And one of the things that he mentions is that the artisans, like this paragraph mentioned before, they should be given pay in advance. Then everything will be peaceful and happy. I remember Prabhupada mentioned the communists, they fail all the time. And sometimes the capitalists, they fail that they have the factories, but they're not, he said if they would feed all their workers, if they will take that problem out of the equation, everything will work a lot much better.
Yeah,
so in this, yeah.
No, that comes around to masonry. when Christopher Wren was rebuilding London, and he said, these are different kinds. If you want to build an outhouse, anybody can. But if you want to build something of great beauty, who do you think built all those cathedrals? These men, and they set their own wages. They set. They don't take orders from the even the king or the pope. And this created an idea of independence and liberty and America. Thank you and good night.
Okay,
Hi,
Nichelle,
Prabhu.
would you like to do the next paragraph? Actually, we are related. Nicholila?
Sorry. Okay. Factually, we are related to the Supreme Lord in service. The Supreme Lord is a supreme enjoyer, and we living entities are his servitors. We are created for his enjoyment, and if we participate in that eternal enjoyment with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we become happy. We cannot become happy otherwise. Sorry. It is not possible to be happy independently, just as no one part of the body can be happy without cooperating with the stomach. It is not possible for living entity to be happy without rendering transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Lord.
And Prabhupada expands that in his story. The hands and the legs and all the parts of the body said, why should the stomach get all the food? We're doing all the work. And so they got a communist idea, let's go on strike. We won't feed the stomach. And then they got weaker and weaker, and they said, they had another rally, and someone got up to the microphone and said, I think we better feed the stomach. That's where energy. And again, watering the root of the tree, and all the branches and leaves were the same.
Dvija Garanga, are you in a position to read, Dvija?
Another one big thing, short, but someone started Ray Rama started a question in the very beginning. Mr. Swami, in your religion, President, this is not religion, this is knowledge.
I love it. Yes, I love that one. That got us out of trouble many times in preaching. Imagine Argentina, where the blue minis were. And the communists will run after us, then the police will run after us because the Catholic Church behind them, and we're considered maybe subversive. That was the word then, like terrorist is now subversive was the word. And that's, so I was detained by the Secret Service for 3 days. They took me 5 floors underground.
Wow.
In Argentina?
In Argentina, yes.
Wow.
Because I had registered the society for Srila Prabhupada. I registered ISKCON. It took us a good part of a year to do that. The bureaucracy there was terrible. It's like almost like India. I remember going in Calcutta to get something on the stacks of paper on the decks of his secretaries. Same thing in Argentina. Very British too. I mean, they came.
What happened? What happened in that 5th floor basement?
That's a political prisoner. Later on, actually, it was filled up and 30,000 people disappeared. But it was thanks to, my mother was like a Bengali mother. She was very courageous. Prabhupada said, be like a British officer. The courage of a British officer was the accurate and the what? And the heart of the Bengali mother.
Yeah.
So mom would say, where is my son? She would just stop at nothing to get me back. And at that time, because Hanuman was Canadian, he couldn't get arrested or he would have been kicked out of the country. And we were just, maybe 4 of us at the temple. So anyhow, they interrogated me for about 3 to 4 days. And talking about the spirit, I mean, you see that in the Bible, but I witnessed, I felt it, that Prabhupada put words in my mouth, and there was no fear.
Wow.
And so I spoke to, although they threatened me to torture me and kill me, and they pointed at the elevator one time and they said, see that door? I can open it and just push it down. What do you think you are? I mean, you created a new religion in this place. I mean, I can do whatever I want. I said, no, you're dealing with the most ancient science of God. And so someone in the family by marriage was the bodyguard of a senator. And so he spoke to them. And one day, the third or fourth day, they said, you had to come to this office within the compound. And I went in, and it was this senator. And so he asked me to tell him what was it about, what was this Krishna consciousness. And it was like, Prabhupada really put words in my mouth. And on one point, he was so impressed. I said, well, Bhagavad-gita is the most ancient scripture, but it's not just as a scripture, but it's a book of knowledge. And it had enriched my Christian background. I said, I was raised Catholic. So he was like, really, wow. And one thing I said, now you have problems with the youth, like Prabhupada used to say. So give us, the opportunity, help us. And we can get all your youth pacified. He was very impressed. So a few hours later, I got released.
Wow.
Of course,
Wow.
Yeah, it was. But it was all thanks to Prabhupada, really. So that verse, always stayed in my mind. Prabhupada always quoting it, that those who have implicit faith in Krishna and Guru, the essence.
What is it? Tasyayate katitayata pakashanti.
Yes.
To those who have implicit faith in the spiritual master and the supreme.
These stories are amazing. The things that devotees have done in Russia, or like this, going into so much danger. This is worth, Vishwanath Chakravarti, this is worth 100 times more tapasya than any rishis.
Wow.
Yeah. Awesome.
Dmitry, hear from you before we call it a night.
Okay.
In the Bhagavad
Starting with in the Bhagavad-gita. In the Bhagavad-gita, worship of different demigods or rendering service to them is not approved. It is stated in the 7th chapter, 20th verse, Kamaistaiter Ritagyana Prapadyante Nyadevata Tong Tam Niyamam Astaya Prakritya Niyata Svaya. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. 720. Here it is plainly said that those who are directed by lust worship the demigods and not the Supreme Lord Krishna. When we mention the name Krishna, we do not refer to any sectarian name. Krishna means the highest pleasure, and it is confirmed that the Supreme Lord is the reservoir or storehouse of all pleasure. We are all hankering after pleasure. Anandamayo Bihasat, Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12. The living entities like the Lord are full of consciousness, and they are after happiness. The Lord is perpetually happy, and if the living entities associate with the Lord, cooperate with him, and take part in his association, then they also become happy.
Any comments or questions on that? Okay, I'm going to take some liberty right now. I mean, we're a little over, but I've been, I started reading Acyutananda Prabhu's book again, Blazing Sadhus.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and never trust a holy man who can't dance.
I love it.
This book is dedicated to my father, who gave me the Bhagavad-gita when I was 8 years old.
I took that from Prabhupada also, who dedicated the Gita to his father.
Gaura Mohan De.
Right.
Gaura Mohan De.
Yes.
and having earned his wings, is probably sitting at God's conference table telling him just how things ought to be.
That was my father, yes.
And to my eternal spiritual father, Srila Prabhupada, who taught me the Bhagavad-gita, it is also dedicated to all the souls currently being born in Vaishnava families all over the world. So there was only 1,000 copies of this book printed. And
There was a second. There's a second. Okay, there's two mistakes in there, which the editor should have done. There's a quote of the Bhagavad-gita, 8th chapter, 13th verse. It should be 13th chapter, 8th verse.
Oh, okay.
And then at the end, Raghunath Das Goswami put in Jiva Goswami passed away. It should be Rupa Goswami's disappearance.
Oh,
those two big changes should have been there. So is that what you wanted to read?
Just a couple of minutes. That's all right with you.
I don't need to hear it. I lived it.
No, but you can give the Siddhanta. You can give the purports.
So my father divorced and married, and his new wife, who was a very nice lady, and she said that my father was into angelography a lot, and I said, "Oh, I never knew that." So I said he became angel.
This is Acyutananda Prabhu in 1967.
That's Prabhupada. And by the way, look at that. Look at Prabhupada's thumb. That's a symptom of someone of great influence.
Oh, yes. And palmistry thumb is very important.
And look at mine. I ain't got nothing. And that's the Mullick family there.
Okay.
I had a question for Nuri Hari, but everybody can maybe know something about this.
Okay.
There is a strong movement in the Narayan group about becoming vegans.
Oh, that's in ISKCON too, Prabhu.
We're not too much with the group.
We're not really with groups.
You're into the cows.
The whole planet is named Goloka, but they have a reason, and I can't really. But I mean, if there's milk, sometimes I was criticized because I said they offered me some prasadam. I said no, I can't eat that. Oh, it's prasadam, Yeah, well, it's burnt and it's something I can't eat anyway.
Right.
So now, if you offer a vegan Vaishnava a cup of milk, they won't drink it. And so you're rejecting prasadam. And there's a short statement of Narayan Maharaj, because they say, well, you're supporting the dairy industry, and they ultimately send all the dairy cows to slaughter when they go old. So Narayan Maharaj still wrote and said, when you offer their milk and make butter, and the cow is liberated.
Yes.
There's a strong. I was on this conference yesterday. I spoke a little bit, and some lady spoke, and people are becoming vegans, and somebody else clapped.
Yeah,
that's not a good sign.
This contamination, because I see it as such, this contamination and deviation of the, like Prabhupada said, do you ever see Krishna leaning against the factory? Is there a factory behind him? No, he leans against the cow. He has his arms around them. The cows are kissing him. He's bathed in cow's urine and cow dung, and his mother chants mantras for his protection. We know all these things. What are we going to... In Laguna Beach at the ISKCON temple, this pujari was squeezing sesame seeds. I said, what are you doing? Oh, that's for a ghee lamp. I said, yeah, ghee lamp. Or you're going to make ghee out of sesame. And so it's there. Look at that. See? Look at that view.
See my picture?
Yes.
Oh, I love that picture.
And when I was at Berkeley in 71, that was the picture that really conquered me. And somebody said, oh, that's God. Oh, I thought, well, if what he looks like in eternal, it's so beautiful like that. I want to meet him. As a year went by, and anyhow, everywhere I was meeting devotees. But Prabhu, this thing is permeating not just this that sangha or whatever sangha. It's all over the place. In ISKCON, for example, temple president and vice president of Los Angeles, they showing films of slaughterhouses. Prabhu was furious at the picture. Do you remember that famous drawing with the girl? You remember? It's in the BT.
Bad karma. Bad karma.
Yeah. Where they exchange the face of the cow to the face of the guy who's going to kill her. Prabhupada didn't like it at all. And go back to like when you were saying, Acyutananda Prabhu, when you heard this from Srila Prabhupada about impersonal, the impression it created, it was far more superior than seeing the negative. You didn't have to join the impersonalists to find out or get to know all their philosophy.
I want to say again, I worked in a bank for 16 years, and I came across a counterfeit $20 bill. I mean, it looked like mint green. It looked like the chewing gum wrapper. It was so fake. So I turned it in, and I spoke to the security people. I said, "Do you study counterfeit money?" They said, "No, we only study real money. All kinds, new, medium, old, very old. We study all the real money, and then when it's a counterfeit, we can tell right away."
Right.
You don't have to show, "Oh, look how bad this is. Look how bad."
Exactly.
Or go to the Mayavadis and learn the enemy. You don't have to. You know all of Krishna consciousness. You can defend any point with the atheist or the anything.
Bhadrini's joking. She's in the kitchen right now. She went somewhere that way. But he said, "So Acyutananda, you're one of those Jewish bankers?" Lol.
What? No. The CEO, the chief executive officer, was Richard Parsons, and he was a black gentleman who was the disciple and protege of Nelson Rockefeller.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I tell them that, because my family was involved too in the support or creation of the state of Israel. They have until, the Nicholsons were like, but, I know my father has never been, and my grandfather, never, there was no tails or reptile eyes in them. You know what I mean? And I tell people that I say greed is a common thing to humans, not just to Jews. So it goes across all the races, if you want to say it. I mean,
all the big industrialists weren't Jewish. Carnegie and Nelson Rockefeller, David Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller, Carnegie. They aren't Jewish.
They're not Jewish.
They hated the Jewish bankers because they charged interest. They didn't like them, so they came out with the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. They wanted to, and that led to so much. There's a picture of them opening up a Nazi army truck. They open it up. It says Ford.
Board. Yep. You know who wrote those protocols? It was the commissar of the Tsar.
Oh, okay. I heard John D. Rockefeller or Ford.
Yeah. Well, no, Ford printed it in his newspapers. He had newspapers all over the United States. And so he printed, and later on he had to retract that. But he printed it, and I saw the photograph of Hitler in his studio. He had a photo up on the wall of Henry Ford. Yeah. He admired him. Yeah. So you tell
we don't know what we don't know nothing.
Yeah, but going back to this vegan thing,
I wanted to say, you may hear this, and George Carlin also said this, and he got big applause. More people have died in wars from religion than any other kind. No, the Civil War, the World War I, World War II, Vietnam, everything, that wasn't over religion, over God. And what of the
No.
atheists? How many have killed from atheism? From Hitler, from Stalin, from Mao Zedong? 100 times more are killed by the atheists. But you
Yes.
say more people are killed by God than any, and they get big applause. It's,
Yeah. Do you have nowadays? There's a famous comedian. He's a professed atheist.
Bill
And he
Maher. Bill Maher.
Yes, him.
Yeah.
And so
he made a movie. He made a movie of going to all these silly, goofy religions, and said, "Oh, religion is food." There was also a textbook of religions. The first one was Hindu, and they show some Babaji in Kumbh Mela with green hair, and then it went up and better. And finally, the one was the Catholic bishop who's sitting at a desk with books, and it was just terrible.
Yeah.
Nitya Leela, and I was wondering if you or Sika Rani, I'm asking the younger devotees, do you have any questions for Acyutananda Prabhu from anything we read tonight?
No, how can there be any question? I've answered everything.
I think Nitya Leela has asked a question in the chat box already.
Those chats, even in the other Zoom today, they're on for about 2 seconds, and you don't know how to answer.
No, there's nothing. Oh, what does Nitya Leela say? She says chapter 1.
No. The last one. She's asking
Prabhupada's view of Guru Purnima as not widely celebrated. In other words, we see it's very popular in Gaudiya Math, but as far as I know, we don't have Guru Purnima festivals very often.
In Alachua, they do.
I see.
In Alachua, they do. And Narayan Maharaj did, because he's originally from North India, Bihar. He's one of the first non-Bengalis to it. He also, he loved Ramayana also, and he could see the many parallels also. It's a great, you see how we know Krishna and Bhava and Mahabhava, but when Lord Chaitanya was in South India, he stayed with the Ram Bhakta, and for a few days, and one day there was no food, and it was after 12 or 1, 2 o'clock, and he says to the host, who's a Ram Bhakta, he's standing out on his porch, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, "Are we going to eat today?" And he says, "Lakshman has not come back. Lakshman hasn't come back with the food." So Lord Chaitanya said, "Oh, this is a Mutama Adhikari in Ram." And then this bhakta was weeping. "Sita's been taken by Ravana." No, that was a fake Sita. That was a murti. That was a doll. And he personally went and got pages of a scripture that said Sita was changed into a fake Sita to bring.
Right.
And Purnamasi says the same thing when the cowherd boys are stolen. And she tells the others, no, I've done this before. I've switched Krishna and Radha. I've done this before. Don't worry.
The question that she's asking is specifically, what is Prabhupada's view on Guru Purnima, since we don't see it celebrated in ISKCON?
It is all over ISKCON?
No.
Yes.
No, it's not usually done in the Gaudiya Math. Narayan Maharaj reestablished it.
I see.
And so it's going on now. There's 72-hour, I think 77-hour program going on now on another Zoom. I spoke yesterday.
So to the best of my knowledge,
it's very. I think it's good because people have many gurus now. See, they're disciples of Narayan Maharaj, Prabhupada, Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj, Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj. So they're having Vyas Pujas on their appearance day, but now everybody gathered because there's so many gurus now, so many disciples of Vaishnava gurus, so we can all gather together on this day to celebrate Akhanda Guru, the Guru principle. And so I approve.
Yeah, so I saw the poster. the schedule, and they honoring 12 principal acharyas.
Yeah.
Where our Prabhupada is of course one of them. But Sri Narayana Maharaj always told us and told me, we had associated. I met all his family actually. They were Ramda. He was born as a Ram Bhakta. His family, his parents were Kirtaniyas. His mother was actually a famous Kirtaniya.
Wow.
But yeah, it was really interesting. But he told us, your Guru Maharaj, you used to call it your Srila Prabhupada. He said he comes first. To you, he's always should be first, number one.
Yeah, there are also disciples. Many people quoted being not even disciple, but being strongly influenced by Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj and Bhakti Vallabh. They are disciples of Bhakti Vallabh Maharaj. So this is a great way to revive Guru Purnima, which is tomorrow.
Yes.
Or is it today? I shaved up today.
It's today for us.
Today, I shaved today.
Yeah.
So, but it's going on to tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect thing to do. But before that, there was only Guru Vyas Puja for each disciple to worship his guru on the Vyas Puja day. But
I love the story you told us maybe a few weeks ago or so, but when you went to you were traveling with Srila Prabhupada, and it was the Vyasa Puja homage, and Bhakti Rakshaka Sridhar Maharaj was there. And
I told that yesterday.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed. I mean, we are
some born Brahmin in ISKCON changed the puja schedule, and he said we should offer to Krishna first, not to Guru, because Krishna should not take food that's been enjoyed by the Guru. Gurus don't enjoy.
Right. Exactly. And Krishna is walking behind them, trying to pick up this dust of their lotus feet. That was in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said, how you conquer the Lord? The Lord is ready to do service to that devotee, that pure devotee.
So Sridhar Maharaj, on his Vyas Puja, he said, you must think that this is my arrogance to sit here and let you praise me, but I'm only sitting here on behalf of my Guru, who could not attend today, having business on another platform.
You mentioned that time. I loved it. You know, yesterday, too, here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I had to go to the other side of the island, which is about 3 hours away. And so I missed the class. My apologies. And I really enjoy it. I enjoy your association and through it. And you mentioned my Guru is otherwise engaged in a different dimension, not platform. But yesterday I heard Kaviraj Goswami saying Krishna is in the fourth dimension. And I said, wow, that's really, really interesting. You know, Einstein spoke about
Vishuddha Sattva. Yeah. The Mayavadis like to say, oh, Sattva Gun, that's material. No.
Yes.
Vishuddha Sattva, meaning the pure truth, not goodness, but pure truth.
Right. Shuddha Sattva, Visheshatma. Maharaj asked me that the first morning walk, and I went like blank. And then the body says, it's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. You know, yes, but I said, I know the word Shuddha Sattva is pure goodness, that there is a platform of goodness that we can come from, but to be attained is a pure goodness, isn't it?
They think Sattva, Vishuddha Sattva means very, very good. The only Sattva, because even Toshan was asking Prabhupada about, well, are we going for Sattva Gun? And he said, it's all bad. Yeah. Jaiva Dharma says there's golden chains and silver chains and iron chains.
Right.
So the living in sattvic life, you know, you can become, is the best way to transcend that, is easier than being rajasic or tamasic. you
Yeah.
know. But that is not our goal, to be in Brahmaloka or Satyaloka.
Yeah. Remember why the Lord appeared to Narada Muni in his body before last, and as he attains, he sees the Lord only once, and he's wondering why, and he gets the answer that because you're so attached to this Sattvagun, the forest. Yeah.
Isn't there a curse that Narad Muni will have no place to live?
Yes.
Yeah. How does it go? When did that happen?
Oh God! I was just reading that.
Yeah.
Daksha, right? Daksha did.
Daksha?
Yes, Daksha, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, because Narada Muni was preaching to the sons, I think Haryashvas.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah, and they all turn into brahmacharis.
Right, and Daksha was angry because he wanted he's a progenitor, a Prajapati, right?
Right.
Yes. So the 4 Kumaras are born, they're celibate. Narad Muni comes out, he's not married. And Brahma, I have to populate the universe. So Daksha comes.
And Prabhupada said that, I try to, maybe one of you can help me. He was saying he was transferring the curse because he was constant. Prabhupada himself was constant. 14 times he traveled the world in a dozen years. And he said he was transferring that curse to his disciples so he could stay in one place and translate. So he was passing that on to us.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of family members and parents were cursing Prabhupada in a sense, like, you've taken my child. And
oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, especially the Jewish parents. One devotee said to Prabhupada, the Jewish parents are very concerned that you're turning their daughters and sons into Krishna devotees. And Prabhupada said, that's all right. We are also a Jewish concern.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Krishna. I'm going to try to head out on Harinam and be a one-man Harinam band tomorrow. It's 10:15. If you want, I can make someone a co-host and sign out if you want to keep going for hours and hours. Otherwise, I'm going to...
We were invited.
I'm falling asleep too. So what do we do about this? So, okay, you can go away and leave us. What any more about this vegan? What do we do about that?
Interesting. I'm glad that you asked this. Our worst enemy, when Sri Narayana Maharaj asked us, Bhattacharya and I, to do some business by which devotees, the young generation, second generation, will be engaged and not so contaminated with what's going on here. So I went on with my life. Sri Narayana Maharaj went on to Upper Creek Leela, and about 2 or 3 years ago, I kept waking up, remembering his voice saying, we have to do something about, this generation. You have to do something. He kept coming and coming for 3 nights, consecutive nights. So I got a phone call the third morning of the third night. I got a phone call, and it was Suchandra. It was the daughter, Suchandra, Chandrakanta, and Gorsundar. And there is brothers, I forget all, and Acyutananda, Prabhu, and there are 5 children by Mangala, who was a god sister. She bought cows. The first thing she did is buy a little lot and bought cows. So these children were raised with cows. They know everything about it. So Suchandra called us, says, there's this dairy that's closed, and they have 2,000 cows. They are selling them. Yeah, and they have permission by government for confinement of this, about maybe 1,500 of them. So imagine the size of this building where they kept all the cows. They wouldn't move them. They were just milking them 3 times a day. So when the business went south or whatever, stopped, they got sued. They start selling the cows. And one of the biggest groups that bought and saved the cows were the vegans. So Bhattacharya made sort of friends with the head of this woman, but she would make people sign the paper by which they couldn't even milk the cows. They considered that exploitation. You tell me. So Suchandra was saying, please, do something. So we formed, we have a nonprofit already. I'm sorry.
Sikarani is leaving. No, Sikarani is.
Oh, Aribol Didi. So
yeah, they don't even want, they actually want the cows to go out of existence.
Yes.
They think
yes.
they're causing pollution. The cows, that they're the problem.
And Samba, the son of Hayagriva, whom I know, and all the devotees are zooming around him because he knows, Nick Nolte and Woody Harrelson, and all these guys are all vegan. So I mentioned to him, hey, there's great opportunity that maybe with your investors we can rescue.
Suchandra, everyone was just trying to save the cows from being sent to the slaughterhouse, but Suchandra went and saw the facility, and it was so wonderful. She thought, why can't we save the dairy? Get into an ahimsa Krishna conscious dairy.
So
I'll tell you, the one of the leaders is Shamarani Didi.
No way. I was wondering. I said, "Oh, she's," and
Yeah. I mean, I think it started just from her health. She can't digest milk products now, but then I think they took it, went phonetic. I think it's a vicious circle, because if you don't get milk products, you lose some brain power too.
Exactly. Prabhupada said, actually, well, when I went to college, the theory was then that if you lose brain cells, you're never going to get them back. Now the establishment is saying, the scientific science, that now, yes, no, brain cells can be regenerated. And so
I just got a call from one of these vegan ladies. She never called. She's living here. She was just hysterical. She was screaming and full of rage and anger. And she was howling. And I know she's a vegan. She loves how she collects animals and all vegan. Nice, a t-shirt, vegan.
Yeah, big movement. But you know what? The head of the movement there in Los Angeles, vegan movement, who was created in the 40s, but Trini went on to study this. We went on to, with Suchandra, to study everything we can get our hands on, what Srila Prabhupada had to say about this. And he saw such an important subject. So we figured with Suchandra that if we get this dairy, there's 2,300 acres of land, plenty of water. When Prabhupada came to Ocala, the same town, Gaur Sundar had a farm. And Prabhupada gets to the farm and says, where is the water? Well, Prabhupada said, what do you mean that? Where is the water? How are you gonna have animals without water? So then they decided they had to sell the farm. But this place had 90 gallons per minute well. The state filled them, made them lagoons so the cows could drink. Anyhow, it was an ideal thing. So we went with Bhattarini to the senator, Mike Gaber, and proposed to him that let's do it. No matter who devotee or what, this is really important. The whole state now doesn't have dairies. There's only one dairy left, and they're in the one leg. They're about to close. So if we encouraged many dairies, that they could be organic, eating grass, not pellets of fish or whatever else they feed the cows, and they can eat organic grains.
They feed them the bones of other dead cows.
Yes, the mad cow disease came about. So now I saw a conference from England where this man, professor, approached the podium. He was talking about that the biggest consumers of fish are cows. The industrialized complex, this producing pellets of cows. So you have people like Leonardo DiCaprio, which is very famous Hollywood actor, saying cows are polluting. He's wrote a book even on that. And now that devotees are following this, it's like already the Los Angeles Temple, the Laguna Beach Temple, you know, the farms are gone. I mean, most of the farms, except for Gita Nagari
Oh boy.
and
Now
New
this is
Vrindavan.
just like the protocols of the elders of Zion. The Jews are polluting their money, and so you give somebody a bad propaganda, false propaganda.
Yes,
Polluting.
find the what they call it, the expiatory go.
Are totally flopping on it. We didn't.
But you know, for us, it was like swimming against the current. Not only we had the vegans, but then we had the vegan devotees opposing it. So we call everybody. I talk to everybody really. When the GBC made a resolution on that in 2 years, which is about now next year, that by then everything should be organic and we should have our own cows, That's what Prabhupada wanted. So I went and proposed this in 2018 on Prabhupada's festival. I spoke to everybody because being introduced to Prabhupada in person with Hanuman introduced us, then introduced me to all the leaders. So I got to know them. And so Rameshwar, everybody that I spoke to, except for Rishabdev and a few other devotees like Narayan, he said, I can see you're empowered. I said, no, this is something that Prabhupada wanted. If we all get together, I said, we can have a culture, not a cult. You know, although the word cult was good and other times now it's a bad connotation. So we kind of, in a way, we kind of flopped here in Big Island. Nobody really wanted to support us. Bankers, what really killed it was COVID, because we had the bankers with $10 million ready to jump in and buy $11 million to buy and financed it for 2 years. And then we would have been up in, on 4 legs of cow legs.
I have a question for you, Nirhari Prabhu. I have a question, please. Are you saying that cow food, which has been laced with fish, is also fed to the cows that give milk, or only for beef cows that are bred for meat? Or
all
both?
All the cows, dairy cows are being given fish, pellets.
Really?
So call them
Really?
protein pellets, yeah.
Everywhere?
Everywhere is formula. Except for companies like Strauss in California and Clover, but they grass-fed the cows. So if you go, then the other thing that happened is in New Zealand, this guy New Zealand is very dairy-oriented state, and there was this guy with this dairy, he couldn't sell his milk. So he paid this rascal scientist, like Prabhupada called him. And these guys did a genetic study of the cows, and they found out that some of them have a background of being from India, Brahma bulls. They have genetic background that way. So he called those A2, and so the rumor, everything spread out that if you drink that, that's the real milk. If you drink that, you won't get sick. And but it's a falsity. It's like a real, poor. It was biased. It was a biased thing.
So if we get organic milk, that means that they're not being fed fish, right?
Right. So you have to make sure, and then also that they're fed organic feed. Now, our questions with the younger generation devotee here in Narayan to the vegans is, okay, everything is plant-based. So where do you get your fertilizer? Fish meal, feather meal, bone meal from the industries. Where you get your fertilizer? You don't want cow fertilizer because you think that's exploitation. So you go eat veggies only. But where do you get your fertilizer?
Yeah.
Where do you think the companies get their fertilizer? So that's one thing.
Blood meal are the big ones. Bone meal and blood meal.
Also. I'm sorry. What you were saying, Prabhu, I missed that.
Bone meal and blood meal from the slaughter process.
Yeah. And then they call it organic or wherever it is. California has a law now that if it's 75% organic, everything is organic.
Then I would bring up the verse. Finally, when it comes down somewhere, I would bring up, find me the verse. I forget it all the time. Dosha. Every karma, even the good, finest sattvic karma, has connection with something dosh, something sinful. You can't.
Yes.
Somewhere it will be. So
Yeah. Tarini was just quoting the Gita. Every varna and has its drawback. Whenever they do, there is some, Brahmins sometimes have to.
there's nothing completely clean.
Yeah. So killing vegetables, if they're not, we're thieves. If you take, we're sinful. There's 5 types of sin committed: lighting the fire, breathing, walking. I forget the other 2, but the sweeping the floor and like that. So and my son really liked that because he was raised with organic milk and like that. He loves milk. He's black. He's a martial artist. He's champion heavy lightweight. Well, that he was a few years back.
Never lost.
He never lost. And but prasadarian, because that's what Prabhupada coined the word too. He said we're prasadarians. He said we're not for the vegetarians, or now they're vegans, and we know against them. We're not against the carnivores. He said if you want to eat meat, then let the cow die naturally, and then you come and eat it. There's still people in India that do that. They buy the cow when it dies naturally, and they turn it to jerky or whatever, but they pay people to take the cow away. And so but that was my thing to somebody. I wanted to propose that. I said, well, go to your famous people. We can start a whole thing about ahimsa leather. It's one of the biggest things. Imagine having Prada with ahimsa leather, worn by DiCaprio, worn by Woody Harrelson. And he said, oh, I don't know, all my friends are vegan. They're not, I said, when I approached him about these cows to be protected, I mean, they could have write a check and save 2,000 cows, but that didn't happen. The devotees, I talked to one of the devotees in the Sangha. He's pretty wealthy. And he said, oh, well, what are you going to do? Save all the cows of America? I said, if I had the money, why not? He said, oh, those are not even cows. I said, what are you talking about? I said, Prabhupada told to Rupanuga, and we found the letter. He said, why can't we import to India or export from the United States cows to cross, for production, milk production in India? We can take care of a lot of things.
Okay, in Mayapur, they brought some kind of Swedish cow, but all the Swedish bull of a different, but all the calves died. They couldn't mate with the Indian cow.
Yeah.
But I don't know about them.
Udupi,
yeah.
The dairy for the temple of Udupi Krishna has Holsteins and other cows.
Yeah, in Udupi, we found there were some Western cows. Somehow or other, there were success. See, when COVID hit, I was really thwarted because I wanted to import desi cows. I wanted to import cows from India. There's over 1,000 species of India of cows, and some of them in India they're going or they have disappeared. But there was a group for a long time that I belonged to that they were doing that. They were trying to bring back these different types of cows. And there was a conference a few days ago about that. I mean, all kinds of doctors and people and business people that are getting involved in cow protection and products of the cow.
Acyutananda Prabhu, the verse
to stop milking, that's crazy. And then they'll come out with propaganda that the milk is bad, and
I think the verse you're looking for is Sahajam Karmakonteya Sadosham Apinat Tyajet Sarvaramba Hidoshena Dume Nagnir Ivavrittaha. Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, even if such work is full of fault. Is that the verse you're looking for?
yes. No, it doesn't mean you intentionally. It doesn't mean you intentionally do faulty work.
Right.
Right.
There's no such thing as a Vaishnav serial killer. But everything, there will be some fault, there will be some sin. down the line somehow or other. You can't avoid it. You want to give up all milk, and you think you're going to because it will stop some fertilizer down the line that has some killing in it.
Yeah, we went to a conference, a health conference in Honolulu, convention center, big place. So there was all these tables, and people were like, so we approached, some of them were vegan and like that. We approached them and said, look, there is cows now in danger right now. And if you contribute, we can save them. We can save them from slaughter. So I'm doing my contribution. I don't drink milk. So, pretty much practice, don't bother me. I gave at the office kind of a speech, I said, right now you can save them. Not just because you don't drink milk.
Yeah, he'd rather go without milk and let the cow die.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but back to the no serial killer Vaishnavas, Jarasandha was a Vishnu worshiper. So.
Yeah, Jarasandha and his father, they were worshippers of Lord Vishnu, but they didn't recognize Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The whole planet is called Goloka.
Yes.
Sridhar Maharaj made that point with me. He says the emblem of Sanatana Dharma is the cow. The emblem of the Christian is the sheep, but the sheep are fleeced and then slaughtered. So this, and Jesus' parable, the Good Shepherd, even because they said, oh, why are you healing people on the Sabbath? And he said, oh, the Good Shepherd will risk his life to save a sheep. Yeah, and then kill it.
Yeah.
If a sheep falls into down the well on a Sabbath, won't the Good Shepherd save his sheep on the Sabbath? Yeah, well, then eventually he kills them. Good Shepherd. Until it's time to kill.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
In 2018,
Jesus, sometimes Jesus is called a rabbi, sometimes he's called the lamb, and sometimes he's a carpenter. So I don't get it. Oh, and then sometimes he's the descendant of King David, but he's a carpenter.
Right.
So
there's no Kshatriya line.
There's no Shastra Praman in there. It's a very the head I just saw today also the head of the theology department of South Carolina, the Chapel Hill University theology, is an atheist, and he's telling people. And many, he's getting many Christians to become atheists because the Bible is not, at least New Testament, these 27 books, they're full of contradictions. They're not based on any tattva at all, not at all.
Yeah, again, we go for poor fan of knowledge, the evolutionists, and then the creationists, they call themselves. And so they're so confused. There's very little information. They think everything began 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And and then they ask, well, they mentioned the giants and this and that. Well, they don't take in account that there were other ages, for example. I mean, more detailed information. When I talk to Christians, I said, what are you? I said, well, I was raised Catholic, but and then I had Jewish father, mother Catholic, but they weren't really church or temple goers, but they're most honest spiritual people I ever met. And they told me that God is about love, and compassion, no rules and regulations, and kill your neighbor because he's a different religion. But I was thinking, and correlating to this verse, the story about Maharaj Yudhishthira was, he didn't want to lie in the Kurukshetra field. And so Ashwatthama, the elephant, he says that, but when the word elephant came out, they all blew their conch shells. So I said, oh, Ashwatthama is dead, and because he did not want to lie for the Lord, Arjuna was ready to do anything for Krishna.
Yes.
In
India, they get that story wrong. Oh, because he lied. No, he didn't lie. Because he didn't lie. This is where Sarvadharma Parityajya. You don't have to be, Yudhishthira is sattvic to a fault.
Exactly. Exactly.
fault of it.
So, you know, his chariot wouldn't touch the ground, but he says his chariot went down. I don't know if he touched it.
Chariot, boom. He
It went
lost
down.
he lost some siddhi that he had.
Yes. And that was due to lack of surrender. Who am I? But yeah, the vegan, if you focus from all kinds of angles, is a full diet, is lacks in B12 and T cells. My daughter was doing the research on milk. If you want to be so-called scientific nowadays, the University of Southern South Korea did a study on all the products of the cow, and they found that they're fantastic. The more they study, the more things that they can get from the cows.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a thing to approach from different angles to help really bring, but it comes down to following Prabhupada's and the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. Even, you know, when he talks to the Kazi and says, "Do you drink milk?" Yes. So isn't the cow the mother? And your bull, doesn't it bring you grains? Doesn't it help you? So that's mother and father. What religion is this that will allow its people, its followers, to kill the cow?
That the Kazi's family is still in Bengal, and they are one of the branches of Lord Chaitanya's tree. So is Jai and Vijay. After being saved by Krishna, they chanted 2 lakhs a day, and they're descendants.
Jagai Madai. Yes, yeah. And they made a god where Jagai Madai, I think one of the brothers is Madai, but he's the one that threw the pot. He would actually, people will come, and they were considered saints after their conversion, but still, he apologized to every single pilgrim. He helped them. He served them in any way possible to take bath and apologize to each and every one of them. So when in 2018 there was a really nice theme for Prabhupada's festival in Los Angeles, and it was all those who had cooked for Prabhupada came. Remember, Gora? It's on YouTube.
Shruti Rupa and Shruta Kirti and
Palika.
Palaka. Was it Palaka?
Palaka.
Harikesh.
Palika. No, Palaka. Palika.
Harikesh. Harikesh.
Kishori.
Kishori.
Anyhow.
Harikesh.
Yes. So I asked Rudy Kirti 3 times, you know, the importance of 3 times repeating something Vedically 3 times. It it drives the point home, and it makes it firm, you know. Prabhupada asked us one time, Bhatrini was there. He asked, what was it? To chant one chapter of Bhagavad-gita or Srimad Bhagavatam? So Srimad Bhagavatam every day for a year. And Prabhupada asked them, devotees assembled, said, "Are you going to do this?" "Yes, Prabhupada." "Are you going to do this?" "Yes, Prabhupada." "Are you going to do this?" "Yes, Prabhupada." 3 times. So that's promise. That's got to be, that's on stone. So I asked Rudy Kirti 3 times, did Prabhupada ever stop drinking milk at night? Wherever he went, he said he never stopped. That was an obligatory thing that Srila Prabhupada would drink milk. And when they told him, you know, how the cows were suffering, Prabhupada said the same thing. Srila Narayan later on, like Acyutananda Prabhu was saying, that when he was asked this question, he said, no, the cows will be liberated. This cow will stop the suffering of
but
this.
they have no transcendental Atma Tattva Gyan and nothing, no knowledge of that. So you can't, they won't accept that. And they'll go on with their agenda.
Does not accept, Vyasaki does not accept that. He calls it blood milk. Blood milk.
I'm going to go now.
Me too.
Yeah, with the same thing. The cow dung is the stool of an animal. The shanka, conch shell, is the bone of a fish. And the milk is the transformation of the blood of the cow.
Right.
And especially us Westerners, if we were born in non-vegetarian at the beginning, we still especially need some animal product. And this is the non-violent way of doing it.
Right. And for brain health,
Yeah.
most important.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's Krishna's business. Everybody's a cow. Gopis. We want Gopi Baba, and you don't want anything to do with cow?
Exactly. You know, Jiva, you mentioned Jiva it was a disciple of Saraswati, Acyutananda Prabhu. You mentioned him. Oh God, Jiva Janardhan, I think his name was.
Yes.
And he was amazing. What I hear from Vishnu Maharaj is the Acharya of Puri Maharaj's mission, Bhakti Baba Puri Maharaj mission. He was telling us how he went with Jiva Janardhan Maharaj in Parikrama, and he said he had the attitude of his. He named his mission Saraswati something about Saraswati, but he said he got cows and he personally would take care of them. He said if you want to become a Gopa, you better get a costume too, or a Gopa or Gopi better get a costume to take care of them.
Nice.
That was Jai Prabhus, don't want to keep you up anymor. Thank you so much.
Mahesh Prabhu